No, Lisa's not. Oh, you made principals. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Who is that?
Well, we have two Nicks on the phone, so.
Hi,
Oh,
Nick.
I'm so sorry. Which one were you talking to?
Hi, Nick Dominguez.
Hi.
Hi, Nick Richter.
Oh, hello, hello.
Hi, Robert. Hi,
Hello.
Hannah. Angel. Hello.
Hello.
So you guys are unmuted now, but go ahead and I think you can mute your microphone at your station, but then when you want to speak, you guys will be you can unmute yourself.
Awesome. Can I mute Jen?
No.
Did my
Oh.
husband tell you to say that?
Did you hear from Andrew? Scott's on. Mhm. Scott's on the line. Pages of attending.
Gosh dang it.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Paige.
You got it already?
Good evening.
Hello.
Barbara, are you there?
Yes, I am.
This is Scott. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you. Gary, are you there?
Yeah.
Julie, you're there. I saw you.
Barb, I'm getting a message that Q&A people can't hear.
Q&A, what does that mean?
There appears to be 11 people in Q&A on the bottom. If you look down on the bottom.
At the time that they typed that, I don't believe we were talking.
Oh, okay.
If you can hear us now, can you add to the Q&A?
Yeah, they are. They're saying they can hear just fine.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. All right. Then we should get started here. Are we ready then, Barbara?
Yes.
Perfect. And everyone's present. I know people are joining this Zoom meeting of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Special Board meeting. And we'll reconvene to open session and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I see you, Robert. Why don't you would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, of course.
Stand. Thank
Everyone,
you.
please stand. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Robert. All right, we'll go on to item 3.2, which is the meeting protocols. Again, this is there is an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on items not on the board during the audience to visitors, item 3.5, and an opportunity to speak to items on the agenda. Please use the raise your hand function in Zoom, and we will call on you when it is your time to speak. Please identify yourself by name if you are an employee of the district, if you have students in the districts, or if you are a community member. Also, please announce the subject in which you would like to address the trustees. All voting will be done via roll call vote, and the meeting is being audio and video recorded. Item 3.3 is report action from closed session. Item 2.1 was information. No action was taken on that item at this point. 3.4 is communications. Mr. Borhan, do we have any district communications you'd like to say at this point?
No, we do not.
Okay. And item 3.5 is audience to visitors. This is time to address any item that is not on the agenda. And as in with our past meeting via Zoom, Shannon Blockton and Barbara Huber will be assisting me in identifying participants who would like to speak. So this 3.5 is audience to visitors on items not on the agenda. Do we have any audience to visitors today?
It looks like we have 2 hands raised.
Okay, please.
4.
All right, Shannon, please go ahead and introduce them, and they can again. Please identify yourself by name, and if you're a student, if you're an employee of the district, or if you're a parent of a student in the district or a community member, just so we know who you are.
Okay, first up I have Emma Steen.
Hi, Emma.
We may have lost her. Let's see.
Hold on.
Okay.
Emma, are you there?
Hi.
Go ahead, please.
I'm Emma Steen. I'm a student at Roseville High, and I'm just wondering what the plan is going to be for the rest of the year for the school.
Emma, and specific, we will be talking about graduation in a few moments, but anything in specific in terms of the plan for the rest of the year?
Mostly about graduation. Like
Oh yeah, we will be. Yep, we will be getting to that. So this is the time to thank you, Emma, for any item not on the agenda, which basically is the graduation ceremony. So we will get to that shortly. But thank you, Emma.
Maura Short.
And again, for those people, we will be addressing the graduation issue shortly with item 4.2.
Yeah, hi, this is Moira. I'm a parent of a graduating senior. So my question is exactly the same, is in regards to how graduation will be managed, or options really. And just to let you all know that you have literally an army of very dedicated and energized parents that will help.
We appreciate that, Moria. And we will be addressing the graduation issue very shortly tonight.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have username Pixel2XL.
Go ahead.
We cannot hear you.
And I am also asking about graduation, but with a caveat that I want to ask more about
Pixel, we can't hear you.
What that looks like. Do we need to?
We cannot hear you. You have to speak louder.
Hello, my name is Kim Olson, and I'm a parent in the community of a Wood Creek High School student, a senior. And I too want to ask about graduation, but specifically, I want to ask about senior ball and what are the options for graduation. Do we have other questions? And what options that they have, cap and gown, all of that. And I do want to hear what you have to say, but then, allow us to speak after you tell us what we're hoping you're going to give us good news.
Yeah, you will definitely get a chance to speak, and we'll be addressing graduation very shortly. I think there will be some communications coming forth on senior ball very shortly, but we'll be getting into all that, and folks will get a chance to comment tonight.
Next up, we have Cameron Harris.
Hi, Cameron. Cameron? Okay, they look like they're not there. Cameron,
Hello?
Go ahead. Hi, Cameron.
It was just about graduation, but you guys already said that you're going to get to it later. So
Yep, we're going to get to that.
Never mind.
In 2 items. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
All right, was that it, Shannon?
Well, there's 13 hands. If they could lower their hand if it was about graduation. It looks like some people are doing that now.
Okay, perfect.
We have Ellen Burns.
Ellen, go ahead.
Pardon me, it's actually Kelly Burns, Ellen Burns' mother. I'm an 85 graduate of Roseville, and I am concerned about all of the senior events, having done them myself, and my daughter looking forward to graduating from the same high school as I did. She was looking forward to all of it, from senior sunrise to the sunset to the festival, everything. And so it's really a grieving process, not as the same as, of course, people who are ill and dying, of course. But we'd like to hear about the other things, not just graduation. And also, my graduating class has said that they will help if the items are postponed. And that's the class of 85. Go Tigers.
Thank you, Kelly.
William Bates. William, you have to, I've unmuted you on my end, so you have to unmute on your end. Looks like his hand went down.
Okay.
Paul Stamus.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, Paul.
Awesome. Hi, I'm a student at Granite Bay High School, and I have all my credits I need to graduate, and I guess I was just wondering, I was talking to my Spanish teacher, and I guess there's I forgot specifically what he said, but there's like a, I can pull it up. I forgot the verbiage, but it's something like pass or no pass kind of grading option. And then also an option to drop the classes that I don't need to graduate. So I guess I was just wondering what the process is like to do that.
Yes, there'll be an email, should be going out tonight, and I'll defer to Deputy Superintendent Borjan on this. But I believe it's going to address that issue specifically on the.
Andrew, that email was sent at 5 p.m.
Perfect. So if you'll receive an email regarding the credit, no credit option, and regarding seniors withdrawing from a fourth quarter course that they do not need or is not required for their graduation. So please review that email, and there's a link to go to a request form.
There's 6 more hands raised. The next up is May Nguyen.
Hi, May.
You have to turn on your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a senior, and I was wondering, because I have a Chromebook that was given to me by the district, and I know all the other seniors do as well. Some have library books. If the schools don't open by the end of the school year, how will we return everything?
Each site principal is devising a system by where students can return items. That should be coming out in the next week or so.
Okay.
Next is Sharonda Wilder.
Hi, so I'm a student at Antelope High School, and I agree with what Miss Burns said. And so I'm concerned about all the senior events that's going on. How's that going to take place?
We will be addressing many of these in the coming week, and we're addressing graduation tonight. So look for more information from your school site very shortly.
Next up is username Ray, R-A-Y.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Ray. My daughter's Kaylee is a senior at Oakmont High School. I've got a question in regards to her IB testing, which was paid for along with senior trips that were paid for. And I'm just wondering if I heard the testing wasn't going to take place now. Will the funds be allocated into something different, or will they be refunded?
They will be refunded. The schools are setting up another link email where you can complete a form to seek that refund.
Next up is username Tristan.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Hi, I'm a student at Wood Creek, high school. I was just wondering what the deadline for those the dropping of the classes would be. If there is a deadline, I'm a little confused on that.
Yes, I believe the deadline is May 4th to drop the class.
Next up is Netanya Kabundi. We can't.
Basically, can you hear? You can't hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So my question is basically surrounding, I know like we're going to talk about graduation and stuff like that, but I'm basically asking about the like little events like the summer, I don't know, like the sunset, the sunrise, and like the senior picnics. Would that like come, I know it's going to be postponed, but would it come sooner? Like in the summer or something?
Mr. Borhan, do you want to address that?
I think each school is going to be meeting with senior representatives on a lot of these questions, and we're obviously going to be governed by local state agency guidelines, but at the same time trying to work with seniors on how to best do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next up is Joe Lopez.
Shannon, how many hands do we have raised?
They're continuing to go up. There's currently 9.
Okay.
Can I would answer? I was corrected on the IB refund. I'm going to have to get information back to this person that asked the question. So if they could email me directly, I can revisit the IB question. I was mistaken, and what the information I gave out was for AP refunds.
Jess, I think these are a lot of these are great questions, and I think it's still a work in progress. That I think we're working on many of the answers that should be coming forth in the next week or so. But go ahead, Shannon.
Next up is Erin, username ERIN.
Yeah, I know. I just real quick, it's about graduation, but I want to know this before you go into what you're going to say. Contractually, is the district still obligated to hold the events at the Placer Event Center? I'm not sure we've ever gotten that information. I know you guys signed that agreement, but is it when they cancel at the end of May, because I know that's where we're going, do we have to then still hold it there when they open that event center? And I want to know that before I speak later.
Okay. I think contractually we are, but Mr. Landon, would you want to comment on that?
Sure. We've had conversations with the grounds, and they ensured that if any money we've spent, if we're unable to have graduation this May or anytime soon, that money can be used towards a future graduation.
Thank you.
Next is Vincent LE.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
I didn't mean to raise my hand.
You didn't raise your hand? Is that what you said?
No, I didn't mean to.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Renee Van Norman.
Hi, Renee.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my call. I do have questions in regards to also to the IB testing money that has been paid, as well as when and how will we find out as IB student parents how the credits are going to be used towards diploma, certificate. What do we do?
I can say that our IB coordinators have worked on mail outs to students and parents. I'll double back and check with Ms. Layton and Mr. Hasty on that. In regards to the IB credit within our district, it's going to be counted in the same way it has in the past.
Next up is Bryce Seidler.
Hello, Bryce.
He may have dropped off.
Okay.
We'll move on to username Zay, Z-A-Y.
Hey, you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I had a question about the that email that you guys were talking about of dropping classes. Do you know when we're about to receive that? Is it going to come in today? Is it going to come in tomorrow? Because there's classes I've taken that I'm kind of like not really going so hard in because I know I don't need them. So do you know when that specific date's about to come out for us to drop?
It was sent at 5 o'clock today. Is that correct?
I joined like 5 minutes after.
Shannon, was that correct? To all
Yes.
students?
All students and all parents. It's also posted on the district webpage. Next up is Sarah Fiera.
Thank you. Thank you for taking this and for doing this meeting, because there's a lot of concerns that I have as a parent, more so the grieving process and the loneliness and isolation of not just my child, but all the other children, and the unfortunate suicides that are happening right now. We as parents really need to come together and have some kind of online, as we're doing now, either group chat sessions with all the seniors just to have some connection, some interaction. We also need to have some counseling going on for these children. It's really disheartening what happened to their senior year, that this is supposed to be the best time in their lives. And as a country, we're in this dilemma, and we really need to go forward as parents and group together and saying, hey, how can we help these children? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Next up is Tammy, last name P-I-I-N-I.
Yes, it's Tammy Paini. Thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tammy.
Okay, cool. I'm a parent of, my daughter goes to Antelope High School, and thank you for having this meeting. I really appreciate that you allow us to be a part of it and get the information directly. Again, my concerns are, I have to back up what the parents were saying about the grieving process. My daughter, we homeschooled her for 2 of her high school years, and she only went back for her senior year to do all the senior fun stuff. And she is really grieving about that. And so, yeah, my questions would be about the graduation and all the other events, and choir that she's in and funds that she's put in for that, and what's going to happen with those, and yeah, just how we're going to move forward to be able to make this a special time for all of the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And we are going to get to all of that. So, Shannon, how many more hands are up?
There are currently 8 hands.
I mean, I feel like we are going to address all of those, specifically the graduation, but certainly covered in some of this, and communication will be, you know, in regards to senior ball, senior picnic, other issues, and more communication is coming regarding IB and AP courses and all of that. And I would encourage you all to look at the email that was sent tonight at 5 o'clock. It has a lot of good information. So unless it's something completely
Andrew, let me make a suggestion. I would suggest we make a list of the speakers that are left, and we can come back to that at the end of the meeting if there are other. I think we've had 10 speakers thus far, or 11 by my count. Perhaps if there are other non-agenda item comments, we can deal with those at the end of the meeting.
I would, fellow board members, are you in agreement with that?
Yes, Gary.
Yes, yes.
Okay, then we'll continue the audience to visitors at the end of the meeting, and we'll move into action matters. Item 4.1 is modification of time for public comments, and this was brought forward by, and I would turn it over to colleague Vice President Scott Huber.
Okay, so one of the issues that we continue to have when we're doing meetings like this is when we have 80, 70 or 80 speakers, we want to hear from everybody, and it makes it extremely difficult when I believe the last meeting that we had went 3.5 hours of public comment, and several individuals commented that it limited some from speaking because they didn't want to wait that long. And so the idea behind this agenda item is that if we have anywhere from 1 to 9 public comment, speakers on an item or on a non-agenda item, that each speaker have the typical 3 minutes, which we have allotted previously. If there are 10 or more speakers, the idea would be that to enable everybody to speak in a timely fashion, that we reduce the timeline to speak to 90 seconds or a minute and a half. If it would still give everybody an opportunity to speak, to give their opinion, and most importantly, individuals can, I'll use the term, preempt their speaking time by sending an email. We would certainly encourage that. We read every single one of them before the meeting. So if someone does send an email, you don't have to speak, but that way it makes it so that we have meetings that don't last until 10:30, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And it makes it so that everybody who wants to speak will have an opportunity to speak and to share their thoughts on a particular item.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Board members, comments or thoughts on that? Any comments for board members?
It's I'll move approval for that. We need to hear from more people, but the reality is there's 737 participants on the call right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how we can possibly sit here through the night if we don't limit it in some way.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Barbara, will you do roll call?
Certainly. Julie Hirota,
Yes.
Scott Huber,
Yes.
Gary Johnson,
Yes.
Paige Staus,
Yes.
and Andrew Tagg.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. So we will limit public comment to 90 seconds when we have 10 or more members of the public wishing to accommodate. Now, we can be obviously very flexible in some regards with this going forward, but as my colleague Scott Hubert mentioned, we really want to get as many people in to hear their opinion on this, and so that folks don't have to wait to the wee hours to speak, and so this is really designed to get more people into the conversation. So thank you. That'll bring us to our item 4.2, the COVID-19 health update and graduation ceremony discussion. So I would like to start on this, and I will start off by just saying we as a school board and a school district recognize what has been lost this year to all students, but especially the seniors, the class of 2020. When you think of milestone in one's life, there are a number of things that come to mind, but one that certainly stands out is your high school graduation. It is a pivotal point in one's life and marks a moment in time where we transition into the next chapter of one's life. The hard work and subsequent growth over 4 years of high school is celebrated and realized during this moment. It is incredibly important not only to the student, but to their family as a shared experience that represents the culmination of their 13-year primary education. I fully realize that this is an incredibly difficult time for everyone. I can share in this emotion not only as the board president, but also as a parent of a senior. This is also true of my colleague, board vice president Scott Huber, who also has a senior. We are committed to have a graduation this year, and we are open to all options. With that being said, the goal for this meeting is to provide information related to our shelter-in-place order and how it impacts graduation ceremonies. John Becker, Executive Director of Student Engagement, will provide an update on what other education systems are doing. Next, Principal Jennifer Layton and students will outline potential scenarios for our graduation ceremonies. We also have an online tool for you to give feedback and ideas. All this is listed on our website as well. If you go to rjuhsd.us/graduation. What I know is where we are at this point in time, and currently the statewide executive shelter-in-place order and the Placer County shelter-in-place order is still in existence. It clarifies, strengthens, and extends the terms of the previous directive to reduce person-to-person contact and increase physical distancing in order to further slow transmission of COVID-19. Where a conflict exists between this order and any state public health order related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the most restrictive provision applies. This comes at a time when our seniors, their families, staff, and the community are ready to witness our senior class don a cap and gown and cross the stage in a ceremony they've been dreaming of for years. The health and safety of our students is our number one priority. It always has been, and that will not change. Whether to host an in-person gathering or not isn't really a decision that we can make. This decision will be made for us by our federal, state, and local government. Thus far, the directive is clear. Gatherings of more than one person who are not in the same household violates the current order as it stands today. According to Placer County health official Dr. Sisson, our health official does not foresee the ability to engage in large gatherings for at least the next 6 to 12 months. In fact, we've been told large gatherings will be one of the last orders to be lifted. It is important to recognize that this pandemic is very fluid and is changing on a daily basis. While we do not want to create unrealistic expectations, we would like to consider all options related to the graduation at this time. Tonight, you will hear from our staff on how other districts and universities are handling COVID-19 during graduation ceremony season, concepts for our own district ceremonies, and a way for you to provide your ideas. Now I'll turn it over to John Becker, who will review other educational systems, how they're adapting to the graduation season.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And it's an honor to be able to speak on behalf of graduation for the class of 2020. We all know that graduation is an important rite of passage. It's a time to celebrate student accomplishments with family and friends and offer closure to several chapters of childhood, the school experience, and that opportunity to jump into the next chapter of their lives. We do understand there's a need for camaraderie, a need to laugh and share, and a need to spend some few moments with your class as you conclude this educational journey. As a former principal presiding over 15 graduations, this was always my favorite time of the year. And I could speak on behalf of our principals that they are missing this just like the kids are. For school staff, it's a time for reflection and a symbolic tip of the cap for all the reasons we're in this profession. It's an opportunity to rejoice in the accomplishments and talents of our students, as well as experience some of that bittersweet feeling of loss, because we want to hold on to all those heartfelt relationships that we've built with our seniors and their families. With that being said, we have the obligation to make this moment special. And hopefully by the end of this board meeting, our hope is that our families understand that we, the board, the district, and our school communities can make this rite of passage amazing and memorable for the class of 2020. Tonight isn't necessarily about planning the event, but it's to recognize that our district is committed to working with our school communities to make this an outstanding ceremony and one they could be proud of for the class of 2020. Go to the next slide, Shannon. So doing research, talking to representatives from around the region, looking both at college and high school. I will start at the very beginning. I've heard this from our student board reps. I don't like the word virtual. It has just become the trendy cliche term for what's, as you can see, schools and colleges are doing around our region and around the country. Starting on the college side, you can see that almost all of them are doing some form of virtual in May, and they're all either they're giving students the choice to come back in the winter or in spring 2021 if they wanted to participate in an in-person graduation. I think UNR right now is the only one not doing a virtual. They're just giving students the choice of winter and spring. Over in the high school side, Elk Grove is committed to virtual already. They're going to work with Herff Jones. Rockland is still deciding, as well as all the other ones where you see the words likely virtual. That means they're still working with their communities to figure out what they're going to do. All of them have said it's looking like they're going to go virtual, but some of these districts are still trying to figure out how to do grading for distance learning. So the graduation conversation hasn't quite taken place yet. Natomas and Folsom, I believe it was, surveyed their families. Most of them wanted to try to postpone through the summer, but they heard the same thing, that the earliest postponement likely was going to be late fall or winter. So most of them have decided to look at virtual. Many of them have decided to do virtual and some other form of fall winter ceremony. Not necessarily a full in-person traditional graduation, but maybe coming back during homecoming, coming back during the winter break, and doing some other type of get-together for the students. Again, sky's the limit on those ideas, but that's the sense from around our region that everybody is moving towards. And you could see, and the conversation also was, the consistent piece was, we have to nail down a decision because it's going to take us at least 4 to 6 weeks to plan whatever it is we do. So that's what's going on around the region. Hopefully we can come up with something that sounds a whole heck of a lot better than virtual for our class. Next slide, Shannon. And really it comes down to this: no matter what we call it or what we do, the we is the most important part. We will work diligently to make graduation as special as possible for all of our students and all of your loved ones. We are dedicated to this. The principals will be meeting with their senior class representatives, having various town hall type meetings for the class of 2020 to engage them in this process, to explore ideas and ways to have a final few connections for the class of 2020. So that's my part. Any questions? Seeing none at this point, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Layton, principal at Granite Bay.
Hi, everyone. I'm really honored to be here to represent the principals in the district and to really to validate how you're feeling and to get you excited about some possible alternatives that we might be able to do. And also we'll definitely gather some input through the survey. I have Avani Singh, who is our student body president here. And first of all, I just want to say that as a parent of 3 students who graduated from this district and an educator on her 33rd year, I have seen a few graduations and I understand how much they mean to families. And I've been very involved in preparations in most of those. So it's very important to all of the principals that we give these seniors a proper celebration. My presentation may bring up a few more questions of details, which we won't be able to iron out tonight, but I want you to know that you are at the forefront of our thoughts And we really are dedicated to making this happen. So with that said, I want to pass it over to Ivani, because Ivani was part of a video that the class of 2020 sent unsolicited to us just about a week ago. And I can assure you that there was not a dry eye in any house after we saw this video. We were so moved. It really validated what seniors all over the world are feeling. And so I'm going to let Ivani tell you a little bit about how this came about and why they made it and what it means to them.
Yeah, so starting off, this was a student at our school, Summer Holt. I know you're on this call, so hopefully I'm doing you justice speaking on behalf of you. But really, I think that everyone is grieving right now, especially the class of 2020. It's already come up in a few of the public comments, but we're missing out on a lot. We're missing out on a lot of the closure that we thought we'd have with our different senior events, our last high school dance, senior sunset, just everything you look forward to in high school and you wait to be a senior, and then when it all gets taken away from you, it's pretty devastating. But our class has been able to do things that allow us to bond, especially in this time. So this video was just kind of a walk through memory lane of our year and just how it got so short-lived, and just showing that students from different organizations and different programs at our school were able to be a part of this and to say what was important to them. And I think it further shows just how bonded our class is, and that although we're all grieving together, we can still do something positive from that. And I think it's important to realize that although we're all facing all this that's happening, it's important that we honor our seniors and make sure that we all work together into making our graduation, whatever happens, something that's meaningful. It may be unique and it may be different, but that's kind of the class of 2020 at this point. So yeah, this is the video that was made.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are the class of 2020.
We are the class that lost our last 2.5 months of high school.
The best 2 months of high school.
But in all this chaos,
we remain the class who stays positive through it all.
We choose to focus on the memories that were made
instead of dwelling on those that were lost.
August 10th, 2016, we walked on campus for our first day of freshman year.
A few months later, we became the first GBHS freshman class to ever win homecoming clothes.
Then we came back sophomore year and did it again.
Finally, we were the upperclassmen on campus, halfway done with high school.
We grew closer every single day through homecoming, junior prom, powder puff, and so much more.
May 24th came. As we said goodbye to class of 2019, we got to raise the senior flag as our very own for the very first time.
Months later, as we watched the sunrise marking the beginning of our senior year,
we had nothing but high hopes for what would lay ahead.
We created a concert where we could listen to and admire our musically talented students in the quad.
Then Friday Night Lights came and the tribe roared louder than ever.
For the first time, we collaborated with other schools to bring a deeper meaning to our tribe.
And we rebuilt a culture for Granite Bay that brought life to everyone.
We worked really hard to get the whole school back in the end zone.
And we made the most of every single minute.
In December, we had our last winter ball.
And then we returned to January for our last semester in high school.
We went to basketball games together.
And then we watched our friends get hypnotized after beating Dio, yet again.
We celebrated each other as we started hearing back from colleges, and committed to the schools of our dreams.
In March, we took our last midterms as high school students.
But as we drove off, we had no idea that we would never step foot on the GBHS campus as students ever again.
No idea that we would never see our favorite teachers again, or hug them goodbye.
Thanking them for everything they did for us.
So yes, we are the class that lost our final sports seasons.
Powder puff, the dance show, senior ball,
senior circle at the quad dance,
senior sunset,
the Europe trip, and graduation.
However, we are still so much more.
We are proud.
We are thankful. And we are ready for the next step.
We are the class of 2020.
To everyone who made our time at Granite Bay so special, thank you.
Thank you, Granite Bay.
Thank you.
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 Thank you for everything.
You don't know what you got till it goes, till it's gone. I wish somebody would have told me, babe, someday these will be the good old days. All the love you forget, and all the
Well, I don't know if everybody got the same thing I did. There were some problems with the audio, and that's unfortunate because it's really, really moving. But in that video, you can see, just as Ivani said, that the class has bonded over actually the challenges this year. But I think that they were communicating how every senior in the nation across the world is feeling. And so we as principals are very excited about coming up with creative ways to celebrate them at the end. So as far as ideas and options for 2020 graduation, first of all, we have traditional pieces that I think that we would really want to keep in the program. It doesn't have to be, but I know that we always have Val and Sal speeches. We always hear the pomp and circumstance song. There's always a principal's welcome to everybody who comes to the graduation, and there's always that board certification at the end that says, I now certify that you are a graduate of the Roseville Joint Union High School District. So I think we want to make sure that we keep those pieces in. And then if you go ahead and go to the next slide, Shannon, traditions I know across the district are unique to each school. And so on some sites, for instance, I know at Granite Bay High School, we have a class history that our senior class president and our senior class vice president go through, and it means a lot to the kids. And I think we would want to keep that. We have solo performances, guitarists, singers, sometimes together. The seniors vote on who they want to hear from, and that teacher speaks. And then we have the choir singing the national anthem. The band does play pomp and circumstance, but I know there's variations of that from each and every school across the district. And that's important too, that each of the graduations reflect the culture of the schools. So then moving on to our next slide. Okay, so this is just a little comic relief here because you were supposed to be crying from the first video, because I guarantee you would have if you could have heard everything. This is a university in Japan, and each graduate's face is on an iPad and is being carried through on a robot. So this is just to show you that all across the world, people are having to come up with alternative ideas. I don't recommend this at all. This is just a little comic relief here. Plus, I don't think I know I don't have a way to get 477 robots by May 28th. So here are some ideas that we've been throwing around as principals, and we've chatted with our student activities directors and a few students, but there's a lot more work to be done here. A lot of times the students will make audio messages for parents as they're waiting for the ceremony to start. The cool opportunity with something in an alternative graduation would be that maybe those could be video, and those could be played and people could tune into those if they wanted to see and hear those beforehand. I know that over the weekend we had the Air Force Academies, and I did watch that very closely. We had one of our principals' sons graduating from that, so it was an exciting time. I loved how they had the special messages from the different celebrities. I actually think it would be more meaningful to our students to have messages from staff, and I have some samples later. Hopefully that video will work a little bit better. Another idea we've been throwing around is, okay, if the stay-at-home order is still in place and we can't bring students onto campus, well, then we'll divide all the students by each teacher will take a group of students, and we will actually take all of their items over to their house and drop it off. And then the student can put all the regalia on whenever they want and take a selfie and send it in to us. So rather than kind of a boring list of graduates that everybody has to sit through with, the yearbook picture, perhaps it's a really fun selfie that each student has sent in. So that's one idea. Moving on, if we go out and make these visits, our media director has already said that he can follow along in another car, and we can have that video footage all throughout whatever alternative graduation turns out to be. Moving on to the next item, this just has been offered a couple times by a couple of our photographers, that if walking across the stage is really the most important thing, and once again, I don't know that we can bring students to campus yet, but an idea of seniors, maybe 30 cars at a time, driving into the parking lot, being able to get out, step into a photo booth, have their picture taken, and at least have their moment on stage might actually be an option. So those are some of the things. And as I said earlier, this is going to bring more questions to mind, and the details haven't been ironed out. I just want you to know that we are searching for something that would make this really special. Finally, if the stay-at-home order has been lifted, homecoming is supposed to be for alumni, and I can imagine some kind of a makeup for graduation. I don't know what it would look like exactly, but homecoming is supposed to be all of our alumni coming back. And what if it were special just for the class of 2020? And what great and exciting things could we do for them in October? So that's another idea that's being kicked around. This is just the surface level. There's many, many more ideas that I'm sure we'll be able to come up with. I just want you to know that your principals are committed to making this happen. Okay, so I'm hoping that this video will work better. I think if everybody mutes, that helps so that there's no echoing, interfering with speakers. When that first video was sent to us, as I said, our teachers were really touched. So within a couple days, I would say 90% of the staff said, I'm in, I want to send a message back to seniors. And this is just a sample of how the teachers are feeling and how quickly they were able to pull something together to send to our very special class. Let's give it a shot.
You are.
You are.
You are.
You are.
The class of 2020.
You are stronger than the moment.
You walked on campus in August of 2016.
Welcomed through our Link Crew Tunnel.
With your 2020 vision.
The first class
of the new decade.
You are the class who kept learning through it all.
The class who took the challenge.
Of online learning in stride.
Watching all our videos.
At all hours of the day and night.
And zooming in your yards.
You are the class that brought smiles to our faces.
And joy to our hearts.
On a daily basis.
And ways of bringing all students together.
From the concert in the quad.
To our first female tribe leader.
You made history.
Rebuilding the culture of Granite Bay.
And getting all students involved.
You are why we do what we do.
You are why we became teachers.
To help you however we can.
To move ahead.
To learn what you need.
To learn who you are.
Throughout all of this.
Habéis aprendido mucho más
than the objectives of our lessons.
And have been better than anyone may have thought.
But you are not done learning.
Because learning is for a lifetime.
We are so very proud
of how you have carried yourself.
You have proven to be the very best.
Of what we always knew you could be.
You have challenged us to become better.
Better teachers.
Better counselors.
Better leaders.
Better people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. We love you, class of 2020.
We missed our goodbyes.
Cheering for you at the Goodbye Rally.
Watching you beat the juniors in Powder Puff.
The sisters ran our secret plays. This is for you. Touchdown Senior!
Watching you perform in the dance show.
Watching you take the stage in Pippin.
Listening to you perform at the spring concert.
Seeing you all dressed up at senior ball.
Cheering you on in your last season as a Grizzly.
Our last hugs.
Our biggest congratulations.
Seeing your diploma in hand.
Hats in the air.
But you will not be remembered for what you lost.
For missed opportunities.
You will be remembered for your talent.
For your compassion.
For your desire to include others.
For your dedication.
And for being the first class in Granite Bay history
to win freshman and sophomore floats.
And although your time on campus was a bit shorter than expected,
you made a difference.
You made us proud.
For having the opportunity
to know you and watch you grow.
These past 4 years,
We will
never forget you.
Your future is clear.
You are the class of 2020.
Hi there. Again, sorry about those audio problems, but both videos are all over Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so you should be able to find them. And the point of showing those was to just validate how we're all feeling and show you how committed we are to our students. Again, it is an honor and a privilege to speak for the principals. We do want to hear your ideas. I believe this link listed here will be sent out after this meeting, and we're going to take it seriously. And I've got already a town hall meeting scheduled for seniors at Granite Bay, and I know everyone is going to be doing the same thing. And then if you want to just go to the next slide, the last slide for me. I took this picture in panoramic form at senior sunrise this year, and I don't know if you can see the excitement, but there's a class advisor in front showing them how to tie their yellow bandanas on their backpacks to signify that they're seniors. And I just want to leave you with this image because they are not forgotten. They are very much loved. And we're going to make sure that they are celebrated. A lot of you asked about a lot of the end of the year activities. We have not forgotten them. We've been a little tied up with getting this distance learning going, but now the rest of the year, it is all about you, seniors. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Jess Borhan.
Thank you, Ms. Layton. I hope all the participants, viewers this evening recognize through this slideshow and through the presentation, the presenters, that every single person in our district would love and want to have a graduation. I also hope that everyone knows that our district is so accustomed to high quality in all the events that we do, that our principals and our sites are looking to you for support and ideas in case we are not able to have a graduation. And I just don't want that to get lost, that everyone wants to have a graduation. We're not certain that we're going to be able to have a graduation. So putting out something with high quality that we could all be proud of is going to require time, energy, commitment, and that's what we're asking from our communities. As Ms. Layton mentioned right now, our principals are going to be reaching out to senior students and parents to enter into that dialogue so that we can be prepared in case we need to do something as an alternative to a traditional graduation. And with that, I'm going to hand it over back to Board President Andrew Tagg. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borhan. And again, I want to thank Ms. Layton for her presentation, and Mr. Becker, and our student Avani Singh also for presenting there. And I will say, having been at each of the high school's graduations over the last 3 years and watched how the principals and their staff put on these graduations, each sort of unique to the individual high school, they do a fantastic job and they care so much. And I thank you, principals, for all the work you're doing just to make this a nice finish for the seniors, the class of 2020, and looking at alternatives. And again, I think we're all in agreement that we would love to have an in-person graduation if at all possible. And we're going to have to wait on our state and our county and the health experts in determining how that looks and how we can proceed before we can do anything. So I just wanted to keep that in mind, but we're all in agreement here. I mean, this was not what we were expecting when this year started. And I know you as seniors, this is your big moment. And as I said, coming from having a senior myself in the same situation as you are, very disappointed where we are right now. And we will do everything in our power to honor you as you graduate this year in any way we can. and how that looks is still to be determined. But as you've heard the presentation tonight, the principals and the school district are looking at ways to do something here at the end of May that may not be an in-person graduation, but at least a way to honor you and your accomplishments this year. And we certainly are open to something in the future. When the future comes, we don't know that answer, but we are certainly open to that as well. At this point, having said all of that, I know there's many students and parents that would like to comment, so you can raise your hand in the Zoom meeting, and Shannon Blockton will be arranging that for public discussion. And we're going to put on 90 seconds so that we can get everybody into the conversation. And so we'll get started. Shannon.
First up, we have username Bateman.
Oh, and please just again, one second, just again, introduce yourself, and it's helpful to tell us, what school you're from, or if you're a parent, where your student goes to school, and if you're a community member, what area you live in, and that sort of thing, just so we know who you are. Thank you.
Well, nothing like being up first. Hi, I'm Catherine Bateman, and I'm a parent at Roseville High School. I have a senior, obviously. And we have been trying to rally our parents, as the rest of the community, into understanding which events were, not only the most important, but also which we could try to have alternative type of ideas generated. And so we're all in alignment that we understand this is no one's fault, and we all understand that, excuse me, that we don't want to hear the word cancel. So I hope that, it seems like we're all on that same page, which is great, because, we've heard that the false hope kind of terminology has been put out there in terms of, if we say we're not canceling, then we're maybe serving our kids up false hope, but we're definitely not saying that. What we'd like to say is that we are going forward and trying to proceed with guarded optimism, and that, this generation has faced so much in terms of, stress from even doing shooting drills and whatnot, school shooting drills and whatnot, that, we just want to make sure that they have something to look forward to, even if it's in an alternative type of venue and, setting. And that means potentially waiting to make the call until we understand, what the rest of the summer looks like. I understand that, that we're looking at a potentially bigger time period than we'd like, or a longer time period than we'd like. But if we could proceed with parallel planning for an alternative event, so doing so in such a way that maybe we have an abridged version at the school sites, but then we have a virtual one being parallel, planned, then, we'd like to do that. Also, sorry, I have 2 seconds, is unlike, other times, we have an army of people, of volunteers out there to help enact either Plan A or Plan B, and it won't rest on the shoulders of the administration and the teachers and the school board to carry out this kind of gray area of planning. So with that, sorry, I went over.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Next up is Autumn Advisor.
I took 1 minute and 30. It was like 6 seconds over.
All right. I'm Autumn. I'm a senior at Oakmont High School, and there's a lot of frustration from students and from parents because we've reached out to our schools about when we will be able to get our cap and gown, or why they cannot just mail it to us. And they directed us to this meeting, and then this meeting did not further provide any answers to when or how we will be able to receive our cap and gown. That's it. I don't need the whole 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you. We will address that issue. I'm going to take some notes on some of the issues that might come up, and we will address them as we go forward.
Next up, Joe Lopez.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm a student at Roseville High School,
And I really enjoy this whole quarantine thing. Like, I don't think it's really that big of a deal that we don't get a graduation, because there's a lot of people that are like just like us who don't get a graduation. They're kind of having the same problems.
Okay. Thank you for your comments today.
Oh, you're
Cindy Gessert.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. Thank you, first of all, for allowing us to participate in all of this. I actually would like to piggyback off of what Autumn said. Looking for the graduation announcements. I tried to call Jostens and they're not returning phone calls. They're not returning emails. So any information that you guys could provide to us would be greatly appreciated. My child is a senior at Oakmont High School, and in about 2 weeks is supposed to be senior AMAs. Is there any information about how those awards will be provided to the students, for those students getting certificates for GPAs, et cetera? That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Next up is username Ben.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So graduation's huge. My question is, will the students be mailed their diplomas on or around May 29th when the school year officially ends? Or will they have to wait until the graduation ceremony to get their diploma? That's it.
Okay, I think, yeah, maybe I think typically they're mailed after the graduation. I think we can answer that question. Is that right, Mr. Borhan?
Yes, it would be, the time frame would be relatively the same as in the past.
Okay,
yeah, they don't. Thank you.
Next up, Susan Hilton.
Hi, I'm Susan Hilton, and I'm from Granite Bay, and I apologize. I got in at like 6:02, 6:03, and got the last of Ms. Layton's information, so I feel like I've missed the entire presentation, so I don't know what our options are in terms of, are they going to possibly look at not a virtual graduation, but maybe a postponement of the graduation until maybe the July timeframe. These kids have worked, as my son has said, look, I've looked forward to this for 12 years. And to just wipe it all out, maybe in July they're able to say, hey, let's come back together before you all go off somewhere and celebrate all of you, celebrate hopefully getting through this and your graduation and looking forward towards the future. It would be disheartening to not celebrate these kids and all of their hard work and their achievements and just getting through this phase of life and saying goodbye to this phase and moving on to the next phase. That's my... So is there going to be maybe a presentation available online that I didn't see?
The presentation.
Yes, I think the present. You go ahead.
It's in the board agenda item. You can access the PDF of the presentation there.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, username.
Again, go ahead, Shannon.
Username Tyla, Tyla. Tyla, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Tyla, we can't hear you. You're breaking.
Hello? It's unmuted.
We can hear you now.
You can?
Yes.
So my comment, I have a senior at Roosevelt High School, and I think a lot of us through Facebook this week saw those great videos that Granite Bay did. I reached out personally to our school and said, hey, what are we doing? And I was told that it would be a district group effort on everything and that Roseville wasn't going to jump the gun because they wanted to try to implement all the schools in the district. So to see those, they were kind of hard to watch, kind of a slap in the face to our parents and like our kids. So my question is, could the other schools, specifically Roseville, because that's where my kid goes, you know, kind of put the effort in to maybe make that as well? Because our kids all saw that and thought, that's awesome, but doesn't really apply to us. You know what I mean? Like they know that that's how everybody's feeling, but they're not feeling it personally for them. So my thought is just each school should probably make an effort to also do that. That's it.
Thank you.
Next up, Cody Rampanelli.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Cody Rampanelli, and I am the ASB president at Roseville High School. I'm on the graduation committee at my school, and I'm also on the student superintendent advisory committee. So I've been talking to a lot of seniors at my school, and we have pretty much the same agreement that we want our graduation. Of course, that's going to be really hard for everyone, for you guys to make work. We know that everyone wants to be there, but if there's talk about a certain amount of people being there, we want to know if we could potentially have a graduation with just the students and the faculty. That makes sense. I know that, I don't know if anyone's ever mentioned anything like that, but I know there are a ton of people out there that go to the graduation. I know it's a big problem. So I know that students at Roseville High School would appreciate just a graduation like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, Mildred.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so today I kind of wanted to talk about what we do with what we come up with today. I'm a senior at Oakmont High School, and what I'd really love to see happen is that we today convene on ideas that the board would approve of, and then we make a survey, kind of like that one that you guys showed today, but instead that it is mandated for every senior to fill out. You can have the teachers send it out in their classrooms and have like an option on there that says, I don't really care, this doesn't really apply to me, just so we know that every single senior is accounted for. I think that was a big problem when we were talking about graduation before. And I think we're all kind of looking towards maybe a postponed graduation and possibly a virtual one, just so that valedictorians and salutatorians can speak. But whatever decisions we come to, I just really wanted to put it in there that there should be a mandatory survey where everybody gets to speak. Even if you don't care, just fill out the survey so that way we know that what is happening is okay with the seniors as a whole. Thank you.
Next up, username Sweeney.
Hello, good evening. This is Dr. Sweeney, and I have a son who's a senior at Granite Bay High School. And interestingly, I'm going to agree with Cody a little bit from Roseville High School. Our seniors really want to have a graduation, and they are at a very low risk group by their age and overall their health status. So if we have a group of seniors who would like to have a graduation and some sort of events with themselves, we would need to work with the legalities of it. And sometimes even our Placer advisor, health advisor, Dr. Sisson, has made exceptions for certain things. So we could even present something to her. But I think that limiting graduation to a younger, low-risk, healthy population with a temperature and a mask on for those attending, or very much limiting attending, would be appropriate. And I just wanted to give some kudos to Cody, who I don't know, but I thought he was well-spoken and had a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Carolyn Cormer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Caroline Cormier, and I'm an Oakmont
parent and on the OPC. And I have a question about, it sounds at this point in time that there's no definitive graduation plan in place. And then I was wondering if that would be addressed on a school by school basis, or will it be mandated by the district? Also, regarding other senior events, are those being discussed, and are other options being thought about? Because if the students are going away to different colleges, either out of state or out of the area, they may or may not come back. And at that point for them, it might be a moot point because they've already moved on. That's all.
Thank you.
Next up, Ellen Burns.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Ellen Burns, and I'm a senior at Roseville High School. And I wanted to point out that a lot of our senior class, I know, has plans to go away to college. And for some of us, it might be really hard if you tried to do something around homecoming time because colleges are already in session. So maybe plan around looking at that when you are considering other events. And I also feel like a lot of those things are just being dictated to us seniors without having input, except for a select group who may be not representing all of the seniors, and some of us may feel underrepresented. So maybe there could be a way that we could have more involvement in things and like decisions and such. And I also would like to have schools be more communicative with us in regards to awards and scholarships and all of the events that we've worked very hard to put together and achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Next up, username Erin, E-R-I-N.
Yeah, I'm here. My name is Erin. I have a senior at Wood Creek High School. And, you know, I just want to start by saying that I really hope, it seems by the presentation that you gave us and just the comments in the beginning about what other colleges and high schools are doing in the area, it almost feels as if your mind is made up. And I know you will disagree with that, you know, statement. But I feel like it was kind of like deja vu of what happened of moving the graduations to the event center when, you know, surveys were sent out. You said they would take our opinions into consideration, and that wasn't done. And, you know, a virtual is a very difficult situation just because there are no connections involved. You know, and I know one of the big things you said about moving the graduation back then was the money that the district would save. And I want to know, if we go to a virtual, obviously the cost is a lot lower, and you talked about using that money for future graduations. I would like to see that money still allocated for the class of 2020, whether that's something if we do a virtual graduation, something they could gift back to their schools, I think would be a great thing. I think that money really needs to be allotted towards them and allocated for their ceremony. You know, it's frustrating because I'm watching this meeting on Facebook at the same time, and the Placer County Health Officer is saying people can go play mini golf, but we can't have a graduation. And that's very frustrating as a parent. The only thing I will say is that if virtual is the way that you really are leaning towards, that you really do have a time where they can gather together at some point in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, username Noah, N-O-A-H. Noah, we cannot hear you. Okay, next up, username Galaxy Note 9. Next up, Berlin, B-E-R-L-Y-N.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question would be concerning the money that the seniors raised for their prom and all of their events through the 4 years that they've been there. What would be done with that money? That would be my concern for that senior class. I know that when there's money left over at the end of the year, they tend to donate it to the incoming freshmen. So that would be my question as far as if they don't get to have those activities, do those monies just get allocated to the incoming freshmen, or will they get something bought for them as a 2020 class, or, you know, if there been any mention of what would be done with all of that money? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Galaxy Note 9 was able to unmute. Are you there? Okay, next up, Shelly Anderson.
Yes, I'm a parent of a son at Granite Bay High School, and I just had an idea in terms of if it would be kind of going along with what one of the earlier students mentioned, either limiting it to the students since it's really about them, or potentially doing a combination of a virtual graduation where some of the speeches and those types of things are recorded that everyone can watch, and funneling the kids through in groups of 40 or 50 with just their parents so that they can still get a chance to say goodbye to each other, say goodbye to their teachers, and be able to walk across the stage. That's it.
Thank you.
Next up, Tammy Benini.
I'm gonna take a shower. I was just here to listen to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm a parent of my daughter goes to Antelope High School. What I would like to see is more communication from the principals at the school, and also from Jostens. I reached out to Jostens regarding our order and was told to contact my local rep. Don't know who the local rep is. Also, I reached out to the principal of the school, and that's when they got back to me, but we have not received any kind of communication from the school principals themselves. We're just all being referred to the district, and obviously some of these decisions have to be made on the school level, and I think the schools need to step up and communicate a little bit more with the parents. That's it.
Thank you, Tammy.
Next up, Hope Hinkle.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Hope. I'm a senior at Wood Creek High School, and my concern is I know I myself and a lot of other students in the school district as well applied for local scholarships, and we were that at the AMAs. And because of social distancing, obviously we're not allowed to gather for that this year. And we all still need to make decisions about where we need to go for college. And some colleges are pushing out their commitment dates, but not all colleges are being that accommodating. And we need to know about our financial situation before we can commit to a university or state schools. And are we going to find out about our the scholarships that we received, or how long do we have to wait to figure out like what money is owed to us for college? That's it.
Next up.
Thank you, Hope.
Renee Van Norman.
Hi, I'm a parent of a student at Oakmont High School, and earlier in the conversation, a student had a really good idea about sending surveys and perhaps even making them compulsory for the students to fill out to get their input and ideas about how they would like to finish their high school experience. I hope that you can utilize something like that so that you really get a broad spectrum of ideas and input. Also, I do have a question in regards to transcripts. Will the transcript availability still meet the deadline of July 1st for UC consideration? Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Next up, Tamara Givens.
Hi.
Hi.
Looks like your microphone is muted.
Tamara, we can't hear you. Tamara, we'll come back to Tamara. Allison? Username Allison. Okay. Next up, Madison Nickerson.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We cannot hear you. Allison, or is it Madison? Madison, we cannot hear you.
Roseville, and I just wanted to let everybody know that going back to the Granite Bay staff videos, our staff and admin has actually been sending daily videos over to the school Instagram page. So I'm assuming they're going through Nick Dominguez. I know he's probably on this call. So I just wanted to say that though they are communicating with us and sharing that, they are acknowledging us. And also, as a class officer, we are working on ideas to try and make anything happen, and we are taking in student input all the time.
Thank you, Madison.
Okay, next up, Christine. Username Christine. You have to, there you go. Are you there? Okay. We'll come back to Christine. Username Maddie, M-A-D-D-Y.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Maddie Earhart. I'm a senior at Granite Bay High School. And I just wanted to say the health and safety of our community is obviously top concern. And I appreciate the work you are all doing during this chaotic time and love how focused and dedicated all of you are on making our graduation better than an email. I know similar concerns have been brought up, but I also want to bring attention specifically to senior ball. Granted, I recognize that it's different for every school and not every senior cares about it, but many of us do. And I wanted to know what possible alternatives we may have. If it's a matter of funding or venue, it would be better to let us know as a community, because I'm sure we'd rally to figure out something if and when this crisis is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie.
Next up, Ken. Username Ken.
Thanks. Hey, I'm a parent of not only one current senior, but 3 students overall at Oakmont High School. And, I just want to say that it just feels like these kids are being, guilty until proven innocent. I don't know how many cases that we've even had at any of our high schools. And I would think that Cody and some of these others are actually onto something in that, doctor's clearances or some kind of waivers or something could be instituted for these kids to be able to get together and have this graduation and the events. I know the school kept these kids in school to a certain point, maybe until they felt that funding was not going to be an issue, and then decided to close the schools. But I just think they're being held hostage, even though there's been no actual current cases that have been discovered in any of these schools. And it's just something that should be looked at. It's their right, but if they can get medical clearance, why shouldn't they be allowed to get together and have this graduation? So thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Next up, Higar Shah. Jigar.
Hi, this is Jigger. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my son is in Oakmont, and you heard all of us, the parents, how frustrated it is. And we all like to see some activity, some kind of a function for the seniors, graduating seniors who have done a lot of hard work throughout the years. Now with this, I feel like Roseville District is a little bit behind because you gave an outline of what Natomas is doing, what Folsom is doing, but then we are just doing a conference call right now, just trying to get the ideas. So I'm kind of concerned, when will you have time to make the decision, come up with the solution, and considering summer vacations, starting colleges, and all of those other activities that kids might have. So how soon are you going to respond to us, to the entire district, each and every school and students, and what action are you going to get to as soon as possible? So I'd like to know that. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Tamara Givens is back. Tamara? Can you unmute yourself, Tamara?
Yeah. Oh,
there you go.
Hear me now?
Yep.
I'm pounding on it. Sorry. Okay. A couple things. One, I can speak to the parent who asked about senior money. Senior ASB funds belong to the class, and the senior officers and their activities directors and those people probably are already talking about, what kinds of things to do with that money. So they will be able to spend it on, I don't know what school that was, but it doesn't always go to the freshmen. So those, the kids will be able to make those determinations, because that ASB, along with their class advisors and their activities director. The one thing I had is the survey. My students are telling me that people can vote twice, but also there are options there about how important things are. And one of those is a teacher speaker, and then it asks for names, and our students vote for that. So I just want to make sure that that is sacred to the students, and the students will be the ones who get to make that decision, even though the parents can also take the survey. So that was it.
Thanks, Tamara.
Thank you.
Next up, Adil Kurishi. ADIL.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, Scott Corey.
Hi, I'm a parent of a senior at Wood Creek High, and my suggestion is, if we have the same rules in place that we do now as far as the distancing with no large groups, I liked what one of the board members suggested about having 30 cars come in. Students get out, they go up on the stage, they get their diploma, they get the picture taking, but add in there, if we can find a parking lot, to have about 500 or so students, or at least in the cars with their families. And just like when you have a graduation where you have a row of students and they say get up and get in line, you could have a row of cars and have somebody direct the cars and get in line and get up, and then they get out of the car and they do their thing and then they go back in. So similar to a graduation, just everybody's in cars, which keeps them protected, and they're supposed to stay in the cars the whole time until the student gets out and gets their diploma. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, username Jackie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Jackie.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I have two students at Roseville, one senior, and I also have a junior. And I just wanted to point out my opinion on having a live graduation with kids there only and no parents. I like to get the perspective of all the kids, and I thought it was worthy that Joe had mentioned that he wasn't really interested in going to graduation, that it really wasn't important to him. And I think that's an important opinion to consider, because that would even lower our numbers if we gave each kid a choice whether or not they wanted to actually go to graduation or forego it on their own and receive it in the mail. It would probably lower the numbers as well. I do feel like we have a lot of Tiger Pride over 100 years strong at Roosevelt, and I think having it on that campus is important to these kids. They fought for that at the beginning of the year, and it's something that they've held true to. I also wanted to make a point that my son is a scholastic, happy-go-lucky kid, and I'm in healthcare, so I've kept him sheltered for the last month, and I think it's killing his soul, honestly. I'm worried about him, and if he could just have hope in one thing that they can get, I think we'd appreciate it here. I've never seen him in this state in the 18 years in his life, and it's breaking my heart and it's tearing him apart. And if we could find something to give these kids hope to see their friends again, would really be my ideal solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Maddie H. Maddie H.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I have a senior at Oakmont, and some of us parents is in a group for, the class of Placer County of 2020. And some of the parents are talking about buying yard signs, and it has the students' names on it and everything, class of 2020. And I was wanting to know if it would be okay for us to go put it at our school and put it in the yard, and then just have like seniors all over showing our support for our seniors. And that's it.
Thank you.
Next up, Melinda Wetzel. Melinda Wetzel.
Sorry, I didn't see the double unmute button. Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a mom of a senior at Granite Bay High School. I wanted to thank you for having this meeting and giving everybody the opportunity to speak. I do have some ideas, and Principal Layton put up a link earlier in the meeting. I'm not sure if that link is live yet. I did try and input it and it didn't work. So I was wondering if you could repost that link.
Yes.
Perfect. That's all I needed. Thank you very much.
Next up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it me? Was it for Hutch?
Go ahead. What's your name?
Oh, was it to me already for Hutch?
Yes, go ahead, Hutch.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm a parent from Oakmont High School, and I guess one of my questions, just listening to all this just makes me emotional, like all over again. So I apologize. So one of my questions.
I think Hutch was placed on mute.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know if anything came through, but I'm a parent at Oakmont High School, and one of my initial questions or thoughts was if they're saving money by some of the senior activities not being able to be utilized. such as senior ball or other, finances that were budgeted. I've seen some ideas where they have actually printed out the senior photos and lined them through the main streets of the campuses or on campus. I don't know how big the photos were, but they were predominantly big to where you can see it from the street, just so our seniors could be honored. I've seen that on Facebook and just thought that was a beautiful sentiment. The other thing, as a side note, was wondering, was kind of piggybacking off of what somebody said earlier about Jostens, if we're not able to have some type of a ceremony or, being with the time crunch, are we able to get some type of a refund from all the money that we spent on announcements and cap and gown and graduation information? So that was just kind of just a side note question, because that those items don't come very cheap. So that was kind of it on my part.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, Wahida Mohammed.
Hi, I wanted to give an idea. I guess the idea I had, a lot of people already talked about, but seeing the Air Force Academy, I guess it made sense that only the students would get the opportunity to participate in the graduation. At the same time, the senior drive into the parking lot would be a good idea. Or we can do like small groups of students to sign up. So instead of having one time, they should have like 3 or 5 different groups going at a different time. That would be a smaller group for graduation. But thank you guys for all your help. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Fatima Gomez.
Yes, this is a parent of a student at Oakmont, and I had a quick recommendation. We've been going through other locations and seeing a bunch of people coming together, like in Costco and other things. And so if we can get people into Costco, I think we can get people into these proms and other events, and also to our graduation. And at the same time, maybe even lower our amounts from 8 people to a graduation, maybe to 3 people to a graduation, and maybe maybe outside, so then we can get it filtered to the air maybe. So I just want to give you those kind of recommendations. Maybe we can add those to some of those decisions we can make together.
Thank you, Fatima.
Next up, Nadia Schur.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Nadia. I'm a mom of the student Antelope High School. She is a senior. So I just want to point out 2 suggestions for that. Either you can do graduation during the summer, or just don't give students the hope to move the graduation, because it's a lifetime stage. So either they will get their diploma before they go into the college, or how it's going to be working with colleges if they will receive their diploma after graduation, and graduation is planning to move to the fall or spring. How it will work with colleges? They're supposed to have their diploma before they will go to the college. So if you can do something during the summer, it will be great. If not, just don't give our students the hope, so they will not be crying after. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia.
Denise Wright.
Hi, I am Denise Wright. I am a mother of 2 Roseville High School students, a senior and a sophomore. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that all of this is about the kids. These are their milestones that they're missing out on, not ours. As adults, we can empathize with them, but we will have no idea what the true impact is on their lives. I'm a teacher. My school district has already announced when we're going to have 8th grade promotion celebrations. And the high school graduation is such an important time whatever we could do to create a real moment for them, regardless of if parents or families are there or not. I think it's important for them to have that closure because they've missed out on so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Denise.
Next up, Shameen Phillips. Shameen Phillips.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for holding this board meeting. While I think decisions are being made far too early, I do understand that the board is at the mercy of the superintendent of schools and the Placer County Health Assessor. But I also feel like if there is a possibility that, you know, in end of June, early July, even possibly, we're a district of technology, and there's ways I think that can be done, the graduation can be done where there's still social distancing, very similar to the Air Force Academy graduation. And possibly I would ask for consideration that if the parents cannot attend or the families cannot attend, that we use the fabulous, you know, technology that we have in the district to broadcast the graduation so that we as parents can still be a part. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Shelly Menesi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a daughter who's a senior at Roseville High School, and I wanted to just comment on the putting the signs in the yard. That the parent that mentioned putting the signs up at the high schools. I think that would be a really good idea. I think it would be a great way to honor our students. And then the other thing I wanted to comment was just on graduation, having it outside. Doing a graduation outside where you have everybody sitting together would be really close together. But if you do it like in the football field or something where there's more seats and people can kind of separate themselves a little bit better and have a little bit more distance between each other, that might be a better idea because you're not sitting so close to each other and you have both, you know, seats on both sides of this football field. And that might be an idea too. So I just wanted to throw both of those things out to you. And that's all.
Thank you.
Next up, Ashley Lucia.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I'm a senior at Granite Bay, and I just wanted to bring up like an alternative idea because I know we've been talking a lot about like virtual, but there's a lot of other states like Texas and Mississippi and I think Missouri, and they're actually doing like drive-in graduations where you pull up in your car, everybody's in a parking lot, and then there's like a large screen that's projecting everything, and then you stay in your car until you actually walk across the stage to get your diploma. And then they could do like after, everybody could still go over to the football field to take their pictures, and you could only allow like a certain number of people on so everyone can stay social distance, and it's only a small number. But I don't know, I just thought that was an alternative idea before we jump to the whole virtual thing and take away the more traditional style.
Thank you.
Next up, Zaneed Skorowski.
Can you hear me now? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. It's Sinead. I have a student at Granite Bay, and I just wanted to jump off. Ashley was saying the drive-in, and that's exactly what I was going to talk about. I thought if they wanted to have something where they could all be there and be a part of it, has anyone looked at the Sacramento drive-in? Because families, obviously, if you had a large family and you didn't have a car to accommodate, that wouldn't necessarily work. But it could work for some families, and there could also be that Zoom virtual remote option as well for families that can't get everyone to, you know, sit inside a vehicle. But at drive-ins, such as the movies, there's plenty of space between the vehicles. We could have like the screen up top with, you know, everyone's name and the ceremony there, and it could be just another option for them so that they could have the full experience without being close to everyone.
Next up, Adrian Dritz Mars.
Hi, thank you. I was thinking a little bit while ago in my backyard that when I was in college, we graduated by departments. And so our graduations were much smaller. So what if our seniors identified themselves? I'm a performing arts student, I'm an AP student, I'm an athlete. And a lot of them are mixed, but they could pick one where they would see themselves. And then we could hold our graduation by department like the colleges do. So we could have 100 performing arts seniors or 100, athletes at a time or whatever keeps it socially distant, with or without families, but doing it by departments and by schools, they would have that opportunity still. And I would have brought this up with my school, but I literally thought about it about a half an hour ago. So anyways, that's a suggestion I would like to take into consideration.
Thank you.
Isabel Nguyen.
Hello. So I'm Isabel Nguyen and I go to Antelope High School. And I agree with a lot of these ideas, but I just want everyone to keep in mind that this is the last moment that the seniors of 2020 will be in the same area at the same exact time. And that postponing to the fall or spring of following years would be an option that's might not be possible for some students unless you did it during winter break or summer vacation. And that is if families decide to stay within the area of Placer County. And having an graduation where everyone gets together, if absolutely necessary, that we could get and graduation and live stream it. So that way parents would still be able to see their student walk across the stage. Thank you.
Next up, Christine, username Christine.
Hello. Hi, this is Christine.
Go ahead.
Hi. Yes. I have a senior at Granite Bay High too. So I feel everyone, the students and the parents and what they're feeling, because this is a rite of passage. They've all waited and worked so hard to get to this moment. I'm wondering if there's a way possibly to do this on a local level where there's testing, where it's mandatory for the students and the parents to be tested, whoever would be coming, keep it minimal. And then also if we could maybe like if there's a questionnaire or something, and if there's still a way to push this through, where we can look, do extra provisions and safety. Maybe look at the demographics of truly who's been sick in that area. I know there's many parents or doctors and that are involved in this at Granite Bay High School. So it seems like that we could just work together to find a way to still give them their moment if at all possible. And I'm wondering do we need to go to who do we need that authorization for? Is that local? Is that, federal? Is that state, to try to make this happen still? And that's just my question.
Thank you for your comments.
Next up, Janine Hall.
Hi, I'm a parent from Wood Creek High School and I have a senior there. And I'm just so impressed with all the amazingly creative ideas. I loved Adrian's idea about doing it by department, but ultimately we all want our kids to graduate together. And I'm hoping we are not jumping the gun. This has changed so quickly and it could change back. We just don't know. There's no way for any of us to know. But one of my concerns is communication. I think we've all been waiting for this meeting to happen. And now we really need to have it well laid out. What is the line of communication between the district, the school, the parents, so that we will know who to contact? Because it's been a lot of waiting. I think the kids are feeling really a lot of lost hope because they just don't know what's going to happen next. So I'm hoping you're going to send out a very clear messaging about communication and the line of communication and who do we contact? Our principal, the board, who do we talk to? But anyway, I want to thank you very much for having this meeting, and that's all.
Thank you.
Next up, username Heather.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you for having this time and allow us to share all of our opinions. I heard a lot of comments about not wanting it to go into fall or spring because the students will all disperse for college and not be available. And I thought it might be a good idea if we were to set some kind of late summer just in case date so that families could plan that there's a maybe potential date that we'll have to see if it's available later. But, you know, to plan some kind of activity to get together if it becomes possible, either with social distancing rules that we have in place now or whatever is available at the time. The other idea I had was for the class funds. They may be able to use that for a one-year reunion to get together next summer. Maybe not necessarily as a graduation, but as a reunion. If there's funds available from senior prom and other activities that didn't get used. And I like the idea of the students being able to go through graduation and have a link for families to watch virtually, if that's possible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Kelly Burns.
I just wanted to say that I think it's important that the students do find out about the scholarships that they have earned, the local scholarships, because a lot of us are having to consider college choices by May 1st, because not all universities, as has been stated before, have pushed off those deadline dates. I also appreciate the idea of the drive-in theater graduation. And I'd also like to mention equity. As I mentioned before, I'm a graduate of Roseville High School, and equity across the district has been a concern since the 70s. And I would like to see all of the classes of 2020 treated with respect and equity and not be a situation of the haves and the have-nots, because that's been a story for a long time. Thank you. And thank you for having this meeting and everything you're doing to support the children.
Thank you.
Next up, username Heather. Next up, username Victoria Mascari.
Hello, I'm a parent of a Wood Creek High School senior, and just dovetailing on everyone else's idea with the drive-in, if you will, graduation. I think it's a great idea. Bayside Church and Adventure Campus looks like the parking lot would be plenty big enough for each student to have one vehicle, per student. You could figure out a way to utilize a radio station, like they do for Christmas time in neighborhoods for broadcasting the speeches and what have you. And then when it was time to collect the diplomas, the students could, drive through and actually physically collect their diploma and have their name, read over the loudspeaker. With that said, I think there's a lot of options. It's still social distancing, keeping families in their own vehicles. Speakers could go up front and, speak over the radio announcement. And I think it would be a great idea to celebrate these wonderful students that have worked so hard to get to that point. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, Michaela Thinger.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a student at Roseville High School, and I just wanted to talk about another idea for graduation if a physical one was going to be able to take place. I believe it's a safer option to separate the groups that would be able to take place in their ceremonies back to their individual campuses, because obviously the graduations were moved to the fairgrounds for my school. So I believe it's a smart idea to put them back on their individual campuses rather than taking place all within the same venue. This will allow less people to come in contact with each other, and there wouldn't be enough timing to have the proper cleaning and disinfecting if we were all to take place within the same venue. And not only will this reduce the risk of spreading germs and raise health concerns, this will also, the individual campuses have more room to social distance each person that will be a part in their ceremonies. And I know that this would also make many students happy who are already disappointed by the graduation move to the fairgrounds, and add a lot of pride and joy to the situation, being able to be back on our own campuses rather than a venue that has no connection to the past 4 years of our high school journey. And that's.
Thank you.
Next up, Karen Vernon.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Karen Vernon. I am a senior parent to actually 2 seniors at Antelope High School. And my question was regarding the cap and gowns. I know a lot of people have asked about it already, but what's the priority on that? And when will we find out when our students will get those cap and gowns? Because depending on what's going on with everything, we want to plan something at our own home. And so, you know, having the cap and gown is a big deal. Also, I appreciate everybody's ideas. I think they're great. And the speaker before me, my daughter has really agrees with what she said about having the high school graduation at the actual high school as opposed to the Rockland Event Center. So that's it. I just appreciate everybody's thoughts and the time.
Thank you.
Next up, Sarah LaFazia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name's Sarah LaFazia. I'm a senior at Wood Creek High School. And first off, I just wanted to agree with, I think her name was Ellen from Roseville High School, and another student who discussed sending out surveys to ensure that all seniors are represented when making decisions regarding the rest of our year and alternative celebrations. And then another topic was regarding senior activities, because although the safety and health of our community should be a top priority, I agree with Ken, Cody, and Dr. Sweeney that we should not yet give up hosting in-person celebrations like senior ball, graduation, senior sunset, and possibly just incorporate health precautions like temperature readings, mask wearing, social distancing, 6 feet apart, doctor clearances, etc. And then going back to what some parents mentioned about having events like graduation and possibly senior sunset being hosted outside so there's air circulation, and then also having seating spaced 6 feet apart or more at large venues like school football fields, especially since our youth group is at the least risk from contracting or being affected by the virus. We could make it so such events are exclusive to just current seniors. I just think that the option of having in-person celebrations should not yet be shot down. And then if the CDC or local government health officials would not approve of such activities, then I think the idea of having a drive-in graduation with projectors would also be good, because it'd give people the opportunity to be celebrated while also respecting the social distancing.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Karen Vernon.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I can lower my hand. I didn't realize I needed to lower it after I asked my
I'm
question.
sorry.
Already. Thank you.
Kristen Bryson. Kai Barnes. Kai Barnes. Okay. Next up, Madeline Rutan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I really like the idea of having the drive-ins at Bayside Church. I just have a concern about the like one car policy because like personally me, like I have divorced parents, so like fitting like my parents in one car would just like not work. So I think that I really like the idea. I think we just need to like consider like families like situations and stuff. But thank you for setting this whole Zoom call up and stuff because I think it's really important to hear senior families and like senior students about their opinions on this.
Thank you.
Next up, username Christine.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke earlier. I'm just wondering if we know any stats and if that even comes into play in our area. Like, you know, has there been the COVID in this area? You know, a lot of mandates are being lifted. You know, our president is saying that you know, by May, and I know that it's hard to really say that we're going to do something at the end of May when we don't know. But I mean, have we done research, and do we really know if this is affecting our community and our school? You know, at Granite Bay or also the other ones? And who do we go on a local level to try to find out how we can do this in the confines of what is safe and healthy for our students and still give them their moment? That's what I'm wondering.
I would just again remind, and I will just reiterate, if you go to the Placer County Health website, that is the most current information available. And we take they make their recommendations, orders, and they're the ones that really help us, you know, make the determination on how we proceed. So I would recommend going to the Placer County Health website.
There's two speakers.
Okay.
Jespeth, J-S-P-A-E-T-H.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm a parent of a senior at Wood Creek High School. And I just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the messages that have been shared so far. I think that if it's at all possible to get RJUHSD school board support in perhaps considering developing a plan to propose to Dr. Sisson, the Placer County Health Officer, to at least consider letting us hold smaller ceremonies, even if we have to split them up by each school, maybe half at a time. You know, with the intention of having safety and health in mind. For example, earlier it was suggested masks, social distancing, X amount of feet apart, you know, possible temperature scans. I know that these things are being instituted in other ways across the country, for example, airports, etc. It's not out of the question. They're not really unheard of things to try to make happen for our seniors. And like has been stated before, we have an army of parents and people and volunteers ready and willing to make anything that we possibly can help it happen for these seniors. I know their physical health is definitely of utmost importance, but you know, their mental and their emotional health is pretty important too. And I think that they need to experience this last rite of passage together. They had their last day of high school without even knowing it was their last day. So if we can somehow get together and get some support and approach Dr. Sisson again, that would be appreciated. And I hope we can explore that option. Thank you.
Next up, Jazzy Kittle. Jazzy Kittle.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. My name is Shane Kittle. I have a senior at Roseville High School and some other close friends at surrounding high schools. And the previous speaker mentioned that we were basing our findings off the Placer County, and we're actually moving based on what they're saying. Has realization came that they've also changed their mind in two different directions in the past 2 weeks, speaking in which dog parks, golf events, outdoor activities have been canceled and changed? And how is this going to influence a decision that's being made 5 weeks from now for our graduation? Thanks for having the meeting, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Next up, Deborah. Username Deborah.
Hi, I'm the parent of a senior at Wood Creek, and my comments are directed mostly towards Dr. Sissett. Me, several of my friends, parents of graduates, we've emailed her. We all get the same canned email. Nothing is going to be opened up 6 to 12 months. And we all get this email. She's not reading the emails. She's not listening to us. How do we get her to pay attention? That's all.
Thank you.
Next up, Amy Devine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm speaking for my son because I think it's important that their voices are heard. And his suggestion is to have the ceremony in a large parking lot, large enough, obviously, to accommodate 1 car per student, maybe 2 if there's exceptions. They could be spread out far enough, and then the speakers would still be able to speak with a loudspeaker. They could pre-submit a photo of themselves, so when they're announced, their picture would be on a large screen, and their family members could still participate and clap and be excited for them. And that was his suggestion. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And there are no hands.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. And I just want to thank everyone who gave some public testimony today on this very important issue, very sensitive issue. We're all very passionate about it. I think it's fair to say we all want a graduation, and we would do anything humanly possible to have a graduation for the seniors, the class of 2020. Just a couple things as we bring it back to the board, I wanted to go over. And first thing I feel like we are, as a district and a board, by having this commentary, having this discussion, we have time to do this. And I feel like we're really and I'm proud of our district, I'm proud of our principals. We're having this discussion. I also want to make note that what our principals have been dealing with, our teachers, from the moment that the school closures occurred, was to get distance learning on track. And this district has done a marvelous job at this. We are so far ahead of other districts in the state of California as far as distance learning. And that was first and foremost what we wanted to get going. And they have just done a fantastic job. There's a lot of school districts that just rolling it out last week, still trying to roll it out. So I appreciate that. And I know they're super busy in making sure the education of our students continues. So graduation, there's still time to do things here. And the principals in the district make a point. The presentation was basically, where do we go from here? I think you've heard, at least you've heard from me, and I think I'll let my colleagues speak here in a minute. I am certainly open to looking at any and all options. That's what this meeting was all about. Hearing the options, making a decision. In a perfect world, I would say, let's look at something at the end of May, but plan to have a graduation in July. That would be the ideal thing. Now, Placer County Health is saying there's going to be no large gatherings for 6 to 12 months. So is that realistic? I don't know. Things could change between now and July. The next best situation might be a Christmas type of graduation, end of December, right? Because as one public speaker mentioned, kids are dispersing. October is probably not a good time. You're in college, and then we have to ask the question: what students do want to come back for graduation in December? But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that we are, and I think our colleague, I'll allow my colleagues will be speaking here shortly. We are open to any and all ideas. And what you heard from the principals and the district is they want us to honor the students in the best way they possibly can. couple things just I think we do need to look at is the cap and gown issue and graduate announcements and how that's going with Justin's. I did hear from a principal that yard signs are being ordered and will be being delivered to each school site where seniors can put their name on it. It may already be on the yard sign, so that's going to become available. Senior AMAs are being discussed and planned in different ways, and we're looking at that. I do think we need to figure out the local scholarship question, when those will be awarded, and how that will be dispersed, and also what happens with the money raised by seniors. Where does that go for that wasn't used? And the transcript availability needs to be answered fairly quickly. And a lot of good ideas. The drive-in's been a popular one. I know that's at least one of the school that held that. I believe they only had 200 seniors, at least the one I read about a week ago. I did hear at this point the drive-in is closed, and other schools have asked about it, but it's an idea. And again, I think we're open to any and all ideas. Granted, it's April 20th today, so we are running out of time, but we do have some time to look into all this, and things do change. So with that said, I'd like to open it up to my fellow board members to comment. And we will start with Mr. Huber.
I appreciate all the comments. I think the take-home message that I'm hearing and that I completely agree with is I think we need to sort of go on parallel tracks here. And the parallel tracks would be, we can't guarantee that we're going to have an in-person graduation. So I think we need to give some direction to the principals. Please do the virtual graduation immediately. Start going down that road. And then if we are able to do, and we're not canceling graduation, but we'll keep it in May. And I think we should plug in dates and maybe announce the dates in late June, July, what have you. Let's figure out when those dates are. And if we can't announce those dates, we'll make a decision shortly before with the planned graduations in May. And if we need to postpone them, then we may need to do that. And if we can do them later in the summer, then we plan for that. But I think we should give some direction to do the and I hate the term, I'm sorry, I don't want to use that word. I dislike the term virtual graduation as well. We need to come up with something, I think, different for that. But I think it's something that we should do so that the principals can start on it, so that we have at a minimum something for the graduates. So that in the event we can't do May and we can't do something in June or July, but I don't think we throw in the towel. I think if you look backwards, we've had a lot of change over the last 4 weeks. We're going to have a lot of change over the next 4 weeks, and we're going to have a lot of change over the next 12 weeks. And so I think by its very nature, the fact that this is a moving target, and I have great confidence in many of the companies that are out there that are racing for the financial prize of being the first one to get, a vaccine or quick testing or, what have you. I think we're going to have some good breakthroughs coming here. I don't want to say shortly, but in the next, several weeks. I don't want to give false hope, but I do want to give some hope that there is something we can do. I personally, I'm speaking only as one individual. I don't want to take the May graduation off calendar at this point. I think it's too early. And I think we should plan for a backup in, again, let's find some dates at the grounds in either June or July. One of the things that I think is important about the grounds, and still doing it at the grounds if we can, is in the heat of the summer, that will be a much more advantageous place. They have absolute top quality ventilation, filtration systems. So I think, having there would be if we can, would be a benefit from many viewpoints. Those are just my initial thoughts.
Thank you. Ms. Hirota.
Okay, thanks. These are just awful circumstances, and I want to do what's best for students, and I wholeheartedly agree that holding a ceremony is what I think is best for students. Safety is very important, but we see that the data continues to change daily, and as Mr. Huber was saying, 4 weeks ago we had very different data than we have today, and the data keeps getting better, and the circumstances keeps changing. And if we were forced to make a decision today about a May graduation, I would say we really can't make it right now because we don't have enough data. So I agree with him on kind of like these parallel tracks, kind of coming up with this alternative graduation idea with all the ideas that we heard today. And there were some really great ones. All of them were great, actually. And then also holding out for maybe we look at 2 or 3 dates. We look at the May date, we look at a June date, and we look at a July date. And then we as a district say when we're going to, release those dates, or when we're going to say, okay, we've decided now we're going to have to move it out to June. Okay, we've decided now we're going to have to move it out to July. I mean, that's not the best case scenario, because I realize that a lot of the stress is because of the unknown, and I agree. I want answers too, but I think if we could give some hope by saying we're putting some dates out there for an in-person graduation, and based on what comes back from the county, then at least we parents and students have some kind of expectation of, okay, we may not be doing it now, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks if there's still that option there. So that's what I kind of feel, is putting out a couple of dates as targets, and then as we get closer to those, deciding if it's possible or not based on all the information we have. Meanwhile, having the parallel track of these alternative ways to acknowledge and reward our seniors. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I also want to thank the parents and the students that spoke tonight that gave great ideas and everything. I'm in line with doing a parallel kind of graduation, either the virtual one or a hopefully we'll have the graduation in the May type of thing. But if that doesn't go, an alternate date sometime later in the summer kind of thing, if we can do that. I had a question for Joe Langdon. I don't know if he's still on or not, or is Joe on?
Yes, I'm on. What's your question?
Yeah, Joe, I wanted to ask you, have you contacted the grounds to find out what last date is that we can cancel the May event?
They've been very flexible and will work with us up until pretty close to the date.
Okay, so if we had to cancel like a week before, there would be no problem.
Beliefs.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should do the parallel as far as planning for the May event, and also planning for a virtual graduation. But I also want a survey sent out to the students, because this is their graduation. I want to see how they feel on a stat number kind of thing, which option they like, virtual or having some event later in the summer. Because I like to see how the numbers are as far as students that are going to be around for the summer. Maybe a lot of students will be gone for military academies or graduations or whatever type of thing. So I'd like to see some numbers as far as a survey sent out on the tablets and so forth, to get a response back from them to see how they feel about it as far as going those two options. So I'm kind of in line with doing the parallel kind of thing, as far as I want to see a graduation for the kids, but I would prefer having a attendance one, because I think by the time into May comes, I think the numbers are going to change, and I know we're at the mercy of the governor and the public health officials and so forth. We have to go along with what they say, kind of thing. So, but I think the numbers are looking pretty good for our state, kind of thing. So I think a good possibility that it may happen the end of May, or we could do it in June or July. That's about all I have, but I'd like to have a survey sent out.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Ms. Strauss.
So my heart goes out to our kids and our kids' families because graduation is just so very important. It's particularly important to me. I love the whole event and the whole ceremony, but I'd like to take a little bit different tact because in the last 34 days, when we closed schools actually on March 13th, and our school kids started distance learning on, I believe, the 17th to the 18th. So about 34 days, our staff has been working incredibly hard to provide a framework for distance learning so that our kids are doing real learning for the remainder of the year. Then not only did they have to prepare for distance learning, then we had a very long discussion, as we all know, about distance learning grading. One of the things that I think everybody needs to consider is that our staff's last day of work is on May 30th from a very, very stressful couple of months. Their last day is the 30th, so I'm trying to figure out that if we were to postpone an in-person graduation until sometime in the summer, how could that possibly happen? And when our teachers come back in the fall, they come back the first 10 days of August, and they are going to be, again, working in an unprecedented situation of having to determine where each and every one of their students, providing we're back in school by the fall, but they're having to determine where each of their schools are and how they're going to make up for the schoolwork that our students missed. So I want us to create a moment for our seniors that they will never forget. I think that is our second priority. Safety is our first priority, and creating something for our kids. But while I'd love to have a graduation, I'm not optimistic, and I wish I were, but I'm not. So I would go along with a parallel track to a point in time where we're asking more of our staff than I think our staff can do. We can't wait until May 10th or 17th in order for them to put on an in-person graduation as well as doing a parallel track. So I'd like to have a reasonable date of, even May 1st, where we're listening to our public health officers and we allow our sites to make the determination. And I think it's very important that we allow our sites to do what they each want to do with input from staff, input from parents, input from mostly our students on how our students want to celebrate, because it is about their moment. So what I would suggest is keeping fully in mind of what we're asking staff to do and their availability after May 30th. I think what we should do is give a drop dead date of May 1st, which is only 10 days from now, and make the determination. I don't know how our staff and our teachers and our administrators, they have so much on their plates. And you heard the list of questions tonight. I wrote down about 30 different issues that are outstanding that our staff has to find the answers to all of those things. So that's what my recommendation would be, to allow each site to do a survey, however they choose to put together their moments, and we'll figure out how to work with our district administration and with the Placer County Superintendent of Schools and with our Placer County Public Health Officer, because it won't be up to the five of us. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. So from here, any further comments on what direction you'd like to take? Let me throw this out. I'm also, before we do that, I'm in favor of this parallel track. And I do think a survey probably needs to be put out there to see how many students would come back for, say, a summer graduation. And Ms. Staus makes a very good point about, the staffing of this graduation. Although I think we've heard from a number of parents, booster clubs that are eager to jump in and fill some of that void. But I understand it's a difficult process, and it's still an unknown process. May 1st is be tough to make that decision, though, in a lot of ways, in my mind. I mean, it's right around the corner. But so I guess I'd be in favor of the parallel track at this point, but getting that input as far as pushing back or having a date in later on in the summer, as late as we can do it in the summer. Any other thoughts?
I'd be happy with a date of May 15th, May 20th to put a decision to
a drop dead date.
Yeah.
Do any of you think that we should actually ask our principals and our staffs? Because I think it's, I think we're asking way too much.
Like Andrew suggested, I think if we talk to the parents and the booster clubs, I think we can get a lot of volunteers. If the city of Roseville comes together like Windsor came during the firestorms they had, I think Roseville will come together and help us out on this here. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't see how you can put on an event like a graduation without staff input and without the resources of school, without the media people, without, I don't know how that's.
Well, I think we also have to look at it. It may not be what we consider a traditional or historical graduation may look like, though. I mean, if the staff is very limited, which it most likely will be, and I agree, Paige, that they're overwhelmed as well right now. And at the same time, if each of the schools kind of come up with their own ideas and themes with the parent support with how a graduation could look. We heard a lot of ideas. It may not require what we traditionally think that it has been required. That's just a thought.
And I agree with that. I don't think our graduation is gonna, in our minds, it is not gonna look like a traditional graduation ceremony. But would we consider allowing each site principal to work with their communities and make the decisions at their site with guidelines that come from the board and district administration? Particularly high ranking is where our government entities come down on safety.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate for sure. And I think that's maybe where the survey comes in, with each principal getting feedback from the community, and what that looks like and what they favor. And I'm also very realistic that this may be a moot point for the summer. We don't know. I mean, it could be, and that's why the parallel track of the graduation at the end of May, as was presented by Ms. Layton today, at least some ideas. And even then, they're looking for ideas that make it look special, because we just don't know if this will ever, if we can do an in-person graduation at all. Certainly, this summer, I don't know. And then again, my big question would be if people would come back for a winter graduation or one next spring. I don't know. I think kids would be moved off into their colleges, and it would be a little tougher, I think. But
having had 4 kids go off to college, they're in a completely different mindset when they come home at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we don't know what kind of issues we're going to be dealing with there, what we're going to be dealing with next fall anyway. And I personally think the idea of giving people hope of looking at postponing it until June or July, we have dates on the calendar right now. And I think it's much more realistic to deal with the dates that we have than it is the possibility of postponing it till June or July.
Maybe a survey would reveal that as well. I mean, that's one thing we don't know, right? Is moving it even, is it even an idea that that students and families could support? We don't know the answer to that.
Well, are we open? Why don't we get some feedback from the district and the principals right now? Are board open to feedback?
Absolutely. If they'd like to speak, I'd love to hear them.
Jess, would you like to coordinate some of this, or do you have a thought?
Jess, you're muted.
Sorry about that. We've discussed this a number of times, as you can imagine. I think the presentation tonight really summed up what the principals and district admin were thinking. I am definitely would welcome any additional thoughts by any of the principals if they chose to do so right now. But I do want to reiterate that Ms. Layton and what we put together in this slideshow really captured where we were.
Okay. Thank you. We can, now I know we also have student board members on, so this could be an opportunity for our student board members to comment. I'm not sure, I know we rotate our student board members, but they're probably all on the call. So I'd be open to hearing from any of the student board members at this time too. Shannon, who do we have on?
We have Hannah, Avani, Angel, Nick Dominguez, and Robert.
Okay.
Sure, I'll start off.
Go, Nick.
Okay. So I think the best thing we do, we need to be proactive about this, follow what we get from the federal government, state government, and county health officials on what we could do. I think no matter what, whether we're able to do the whole shebang of a graduation on May 28th, 29th, towards the end of May, even if we can't do the whole physical graduation, there has to be something for those seniors graduating. They have to get that recognition. They've been preparing for that day. There has to be something that goes on that day, whether it's the full graduation or an adapted version. I've heard lots of things about drive-in graduations. If that doesn't happen and we have to resort to something that can't be done in person, then I believe the best thing to do, we need to plan out dates on when we can have that complete graduation, whether that comes in June, July, or December. We need to get those dates out and just have backup plans to know, because we don't know what's going to happen next. And also,
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I have one more thing to add.
Go ahead.
A compulsory survey would be an excellent idea, and on there would be to ask students, would they be willing to come back for a June, July, or December graduation, so we can gauge how much interest there is in that. And even if it's like 30% of students that will come back, I still think it's worth it for them to get that official bookend of high school. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Hannah?
Hi. I would like to start by saying I agree with Nick completely. I, as well as the majority of people who I've talked to, would really love to have a traditional graduation. even if that means postponing it. I do think if we were to have it too soon, or if we were to have small groups, it would be a little bit harder to follow the guidelines and keep everyone healthy. Especially like if we had an event too soon, some of our students wouldn't be able to come if they had health problems or asthma or stuff like that, which would not be great. I also think that a survey is completely necessary, and it should be going out to all of our seniors. I think everybody really, really needs to consider the seniors' input. And then I do think that some sort of celebration now is necessary, but I do believe that we should postpone graduation until it's safe to have a normal graduation. Because again, there are students who might not be able to come back, who might not be able to afford it, who aren't going to be in the area anymore, or just can't come in general. I think it's important to recognize those now, recognize all of our students now, and then come, as Nick said, to bookend our high school experience by postponing it. I also think that including graduation by postponing it, it should be included on to our campus, because our year got cut short, and that really sucks. So like having our graduation ceremony at our school, I think would give a little bit more meaning and be a little bit more meaningful for us. Sorry, I have some notes here that I'm looking over that I've taken throughout the meeting. I really think that graduation is really, really important, and it holds a huge weight, and it's a big milestone. And I think that it's necessary to have an actual ceremony at some point, whether it's now, in a year from now, over a break or something. I think it's really, really important to have. But I think it's also good to do something in the moment that we have right now. And I think that's kind of all I've got.
Hi, can you guys hear me? It's Tino.
Yeah, Tino.
Hi, Tino.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Hey, I just first of all want to say thank you to all the students and staff and families who spoke tonight. I really think it's important that we validate and honor our graduates. I'm a former, I say former loosely, I'm a former graduate of Wood Creek High School. I'm not going to give the year. So I definitely understand the importance of recognizing our seniors. I met with Robert and a group of seniors this past week to talk about what it could look like at Antelope, how it could look like to celebrate our Titans as the class of 2020. Some of the concerns I have, all of us principals recognize the importance of celebration, of recognition. As we move forward, I think Paige touched upon it in her comments towards the end. The logistical challenge of a summer graduation is greatly increases the later we wait, and add that to the uncertainty of knowing where we're going to stand with COVID-19, even from a week from now. It's a big challenge staffing in the summer. Our teachers are on vacation. They have a specific work schedule, certificate of work schedule, and they're off in the summer. I totally appreciate the parent input, and I totally appreciate the parent help, but it's a really, really big task. So I just want to make sure we're really considering the impact that has. In addition, our teachers and staff have done a just phenomenal job with distance learning. We just started a new grading guideline on April 20th, and the implications of that now are really important. But when we come back from school after the summer, there's going to be a lot of unknowns even during that time. So I think it's really important that we plan something innovative. We plan something great for our kids. I just really am concerned about the challenge of planning parallel graduations, especially looking at the advice from the health professions right now. Just wanted to give my 2 cents about that.
Thank you, Tina.
Robert, were you ready to say something?
Yes. So I just want to start off by saying my general thoughts about this entire situation. I cannot help but think about those who are more affected with this virus, as well as all of the seniors across the world who have had special events taken away from them that are once in a lifetime events. And it truly that thought just reminds me especially that we are not alone in this situation. And at this time, basically to the public, I can tell you that everyone is unsure and that nothing is a guarantee, as Mr. Tag stated at the beginning of this meeting. This situation is evolving and has become an unprecedented conflict that has all impacted us in individual ways and has truly made us sick in the heart. But with that, I would like to commend the board members, staff, students, and everyone with our school community for being patient as we try to resolve this issue together and for adapting to our digital changes to finish the rest of the school year. And as for my opinion regarding the situation about graduation, I think the same with Hannah and Nick, that at this time there should at least be some congratulatory event, even if it is with the means of being a digital live stream that at least keeps the same traditions that we have always had in the past with all of our graduation ceremonies. And so with that, I hope to see families and students each celebrating at their own individual homes and watching something that can highlight each individual student and maybe involve some of that things that were part of the presentation that was set forth among us at the beginning of this meeting. But I also do believe that, me personally, I would love to say goodbye to the physical location that I've spent 4 years at. And so I believe that a postponed graduation, either in the summer or maybe even in the fall break or winter break, or however that may be, depending on the situation, I feel like that should be necessary. And I know it won't be the same way that graduation is held, because that would not be possible with the circumstance. But I've seen this work in the past. An example that I was thinking about was the fact of how Antelope's Performing Arts building was actually celebrated once it opened. It had an alumni show, and yes, not every alumni could make it, but the ones that did put on a phenomenal show. And I believe that's something that is adjusted for graduation that is similar to having the alumni come back to do a performing arts show, can just be used as a celebration. And hopefully, I believe that students will actually enjoy the fact that they're going to have an opportunity to come back, to the place that they finished off on. And I'd like to just end just by saying an apology to the class of 2020, not just to the Antelope High School seniors, but to every senior of every school. I know that we are not a normal class, and I cannot guarantee that we will finish with the same traditions that we all dreamt of in our previous years. But what I can guarantee is that every one of us will have an opportunity to graduate one way or another. And I know that with seeing all the public opinions, that a lot of us are committed to this and we want it. And I believe that we will have this opportunity. And once again, I would just like to thank everyone here for putting in their own input regarding this ever-changing situation. And I hope you are all staying safe and healthy.
Thank you, Robert.
Rob Hasty.
Hey, thank you. I want to echo a little bit of what Tino said, first of all, by saying thank you to the parents and the students and everybody involved in this conversation tonight. I know this is not an easy conversation. And speaking as one of the principals in this district, this is my 22nd year in education. So I've gone through, this will be my 22nd graduation that I've gone through. And this will be my 9th one as a principal, and every one of them is special. And it's just an incredible opportunity for us to recognize the hard work that our kids have put in over the last 4 years, and to celebrate them along with their families as their kids go off to post-secondary options. That being said, I do think that we need to be obviously focused on the safety of the kids. And I know that the board is very concerned about that. I know that all of the administrators are. I know our parents and community are. And I think that we can absolutely put something together that will be special, that will be unique, and in line with the presentation that you saw this evening. And I think that, if given the appropriate amount of time, we can do something very special. And I think that if we can be given that time to do those things and to put that together, I think our community will be proud of what we put together and how we've celebrated their students. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Angel Alonso.
Hey, first off, I want to say thank you to everybody that was here and spoke. And it's been especially helpful for me and for as we saw earlier, there was about 800 kids and adults here that tuned in. And I think it's just great for everyone to kind of listen and tune in and hear what the planning and the process is for all of us, because I know it's different for each person to take in, but it's also super, super helpful for most. It gives them the sense of relief, and it gets rid of some of the stress too. I know for me and for all my friends, I know and some teachers, it's just such a super stressful time, but it's just super relieving to know that everyone wants to be a part of this. Everyone wants to make this year they're going away sense of it. They want to feel happy and joy and all that, but it's also super. It's gonna be a year to remember in a ways that no one will forget, and so I don't know, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's here and spoke, and especially to all of our staff, teachers, principals, and everyone that's adapted to it. And it's just super, super helpful. And yeah.
Thank you, Angel.
Jennifer Layton.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. I just want to add a couple comments that haven't been said yet. I think that Tino and Rob said them very well. I know that you would love a traditional graduation. We would all love a traditional graduation. We would all love to not be in the middle of a national pandemic. I would love to fix everything that the seniors have lost. But you have to remember, we're running a school and we're also event planners. So if you've ever planned a wedding, you know about 1/10 of the work that it goes into throwing a graduation for 500 seniors and managing the crowd, et cetera, et cetera. And so we brought forth some great, I think, seedlings of ideas. And it's a little frustrating to me to keep going back to what we really want that we really can't have, that is not sanctioned, that is not recommended, that no staff member of mine is going to show up for an in-person graduation. So I want to be really clear on that. This is my 34th year in education. I've been through enough of these. If you haven't chaired, planned, spoken, organized, run kids through rehearsals, you have no idea what it takes to run a graduation. So I would appreciate the respect of knowing that we have been through this and we know what's going to work and what's not going to work. So I want to revisit that. I love this senior class and I want to make this special, but I feel like we're just not being heard, that this is not possible. And to ask us to plan parallel graduations and push it out month by month, it's just unrealistic. We got to get ready for a school year next year that may look like this, that might be a hybrid, that might be on double session, that might be independent study. We only get 3 weeks off of summer and you want a graduation at the end of July with no staff to help us. So I'm appealing to you and I'm speaking from the heart that please listen to us, because if something is forced upon us that isn't doable, it's going to be worse than any graduating class has had. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Avani Singh.
Hi,
Avani.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I just had to jump off the call for a second, but I just caught the last part of what Principal Layton said, and I realized that, you know, planning that parallel graduation is going to be difficult and everything. And I think there are ways to make the seniors feel appreciated and honored. And obviously, as a senior myself, obviously what I look forward to is graduation. And if it was up to me, I would say let's postpone it. Let's get an in-person graduation. I just want to make sure that we're prioritizing the health and safety of students, at the same time finding a reasonable way to honor us, whatever that may be. But yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Richter?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to echo some of the things the fellow principals said. I wanted to thank the parents and the students and everyone who's been able to share their ideas, and the board for the careful consideration you're putting into this. I was reflecting on couple of the things that seem to make this so much more challenging for a lot of our senior class. And I think some of it has to do with, you know, coming to school on March 11th, not knowing that the next day things were taken from, and there's a sense of loss of control. To a certain degree, what I heard some of the school board or the student school board members say is there was this desire to have that measure of control back. So could we have that celebration, you know, at the end of this school year, regardless of the other possibilities that may happen? And I think that in part, being able to celebrate in that way allows students to have that certain sense of closure. And I just want to echo what everyone else says. Graduation is the day everyone in high schools works for. It's the day of the year, the most important day. And if it were possible for all of us to do everything we would do everything we could to make this day amazing. So in that ability to help the students, you know, celebrate, be honored, and yet still find that closure to their high school, the bookend, as I heard Nick Dominguez use it, you know, it'd be our commitment to work with our students and our families to make sure that they're included in this process. And it's something that we're doing together to celebrate. I think that part of what the challenge is, the frustration you might hear a little bit, is the uncertainty. We can't get the decisions and communications out fast enough to parents to have them feel as connected and communicated with as we would like. And just from our perspective, I would appreciate if we could, you know, the sooner make a decision. That way we have the ability to do the high quality and involved and connected celebration that we'd like to put on and truly honor our class of 2020.
Thank you.
Sue Ann Bell.
Hi, everybody. It's I'm like the fourth or fifth principal to talk, and so I just agree with what everybody else said. But I do want to echo the time commitment to do something meaningful and to have time to work with our students, our staff, and our families. I also wanted to share that I am also a proud parent of 2 seniors, and so I understand that celebrating seniors is a huge priority. It is for our sites, all of our sites, and for the district office. My son was the one that graduated from the Air Force Academy this weekend. We watched it on TV in a friend's home. And what I found was that I was still very emotional. I was very proud. And I was just beyond thankful that we had a celebration. And it was different. I've never done anything like that, but it was still very special. And again, that was very thankful that we were able to celebrate in a way that was actually meaningful to those graduates. And lastly, I just want to say to the seniors, the resiliency that you're developing now in this time will serve you well in the future. We are proud of all of you, and we are committed 100%, like the other principal said, to making something special for all of you. So we look forward to whatever that looks like, and we're going to work with you.
Thank you, Sue Ann, and congratulations to your son.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Board members, Paige Staus.
I am really hoping that my fellow board members are listening to what our principals are saying. And I think the other, we talk about how students are so important, but in my mind, having something defined is also important in a time of little definition, to know they have time to put together something that's memorable and to have a date to know when that's going to be. I think it will be a graduation. It certainly will be a graduation that they'll never forget. And it may not be traditional, but I think it could be wonderful.
All right, board, any other thoughts?
Is
Scott, Gary, Julie?
No, so this is Scott. I'll maybe chime in. Maybe we need to rethink what we do here. I certainly I honor our teachers and our principals and administration and what they do, and I don't want to put more workload on them. Maybe what we do is, and I'm throwing it out as an idea. Maybe it's a bad idea, and I reserve the right to call it a bad idea myself. But what if we were to say, okay, well, let's have the principals and the admin do the what I'll call the virtual graduation, put 100% effort in that. And if we're able to do the graduation, that we 100% turn it over to the site for the parents to run. Let the parents do every single bit of the work. And you know, if teachers want to be there and celebrate, they can. And if the parents want to do it, the parents, they're certainly the ones that have the vested interest in it. And that gives, and again, I just throw it out as an idea, maybe a bad one, but that gives the staff and administration and principals the knowledge that they've got their project. We're not going to put any more work on them. And the parents from each of the sites can come together and say, what do we want it to look like? Because we're the ones that are going to have to put it on if we can do it. And they also need to know we may not be able to do it. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. It sort of occurred to me. I thought I'd throw it out there in this forum with several hundred people, which is always a dangerous thing to do, but I don't know, just a thought.
Well, I think we asked for the principal's input and we got some frank discussion and honest comments. And it's a valid point of view in all of this for sure. It's you know, we wanted to have this discussion. We're having this discussion too. So this is what this is all about. And we still have 265. We've dropped on our participants, but we still have 265 people watching this.
Well, and I do want to pat our district on the back a little bit. To my knowledge, there are no other districts having this conversation. They're just
absolutely. I think that's right. So I don't know. Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment, and you know, it's kind of a comment towards what Scott said, but also bringing in what the principal said. And I think the importance of this discussion was, how do we get to yes, right? How do we get to some sort of compromise? And I don't know that we answered that tonight, but we certainly addressed a lot of ways to get there. And with compromise, everybody needs to take and give a little bit, right? So I think if we build upon what the principals had to say, what the students had to say, and then some kind of a hybrid like Scott had just mentioned, I think we might be able to get there. I just don't know that we could get there right now on this call, right? I mean, obviously we can't, but the surveys will help. So I think the sooner we get those out and make sure that we do get seniors to participate in a very thoughtful way with questions on there that are going to be supportive of how to get to some possible solutions, and then have the discussions based on those surveys that works towards yes.
Thank you, Julie. But are we still in agreement of at least a survey question? Or
yeah, I'd like to get the survey out tomorrow and have a deadline of probably the end of the week, and then discuss it next Tuesday at our regular meeting.
I just don't know what answer questions we could put on a survey that quickly, or maybe our, I don't know if anybody could put a survey together, that's meaningful by then, but sooner the better, because then we'll be able to have dates and discussions and timelines that will help everybody look forward and, look forward towards something we're all coming together on.
Well, if we're looking for compromise, tomorrow is too soon. Nobody can get it together, but I would then put one more thing on our principals and ask them to send surveys to their sites in what they think is a reasonable time frame, and then have the discussion. But from my opinion, I think the right thing to do with all of the unknowns is to give our kids known and give them a date and say you're graduating in May and we're going to figure out how that's going to be memorable. But I am willing to compromise if we do a survey. But once again, I would ask, it's not us that are going to be doing the work and dealing with the repercussions. It's staff that's going to be doing that. And as we've said 50 times, this is an unprecedented time. And not only is staff having to deal with their 2,000 students at their campuses, they're also having to deal with their own families and their own issues. So I'd like us to be quite mindful of what we're really asking.
Well, that comes with, finding out what sort of resources are available, right, Paige? So the staff would be able to weigh in. For instance, if kind of the consensus came to an in-person graduation over the summer and the staff said, we can't staff that, it needs to be a compromise of where resources can meet needs and a timeline, right? So anyway, just as an idea, I'm done.
All right then. So it's 8:12. So I'd like to kind of wrap this up if we can. And what I'm hearing is we'd like to do a survey. I think we could put that together, work with Shannon on that. Some quick questions just to put this to bed as far as what seniors, we would know what seniors would be open to. We still have a greater problem of how we put on even a secondary graduation if that was the will of the seniors, And the third option is that the health director of Placer County is right, and there's no large gatherings for the next 6 to 12 months, so it becomes a moot point. But I think again, with this platform, we are listening to our students and our parents and our communities. So I would say we at least owe to do a survey. And I would say ultimately the principals move forward on May 28th and 29th, because there needs to be some celebration. This is just me talking, some celebration. And we look at the graduation, the walking, whatever it may look. I like what Robert kind of said, what he said. It wouldn't be the same. I don't think it possibly could be like a normal graduation. So it might be something like what they did at the Antelope when they opened the theater, the open house with alumni. If we were able to do something, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
So Andrew, what you're saying sounds a lot like what Scott and Julie were saying as well. Start with a survey, but give direction to principals to go ahead with.
I think they want to move forward on it. So I think either way, we need to have some. I would agree. So we need to have something at the end of the year, no matter what. Is what I'm hearing.
That's kind of the minimum.
The minimum, yeah, exactly, and work through a plan. What we hoped, what going into all this, what I had hoped, and I think I'm hearing from colleagues, is that we could have a secondary if and when we were able to meet in person, we'd have a graduation. For those that are willing to show up at a later date, there's a lot of obstacles, one being staffing, right? Another being, would the kids even show up? Would a lot of kids, once they're off to college, do they come back? But I think we have to move forward. It's April 20th. We need to move forward on this. And I think we've listened to the public. And again, in my mind, I'm hearing from seniors, they obviously would love to have something in person at a later date, if at all possible. Many of them, we heard from a segment. We didn't hear from everybody, but I just think we need to somehow wrap this up and make a decision.
But of course they want an in-person graduation. I want that for them also.
Yeah. No, and I get it. I don't have an answer.
You can only make a decision based on what you know today.
Yeah. So I guess I'm asking for any, where do we go from here, board? Scott, Gary, Julie?
Can I chime in, Andrew?
Sure, Jess.
So the item was put on tonight's agenda as an information item. And I think we really accomplished that to a very great degree. I think there's been a lot of conversation about things that can get started in terms of progress and work. Anything from the principals and Ms. Layton presenting that principals have plans to move forward and have conversations and involve their communities, involve their students in what's coming up in May to mark that date. I don't think that we're in a position right now to make a decision other than let's keep going with the intention to plan an alternate event at the end of May and then reconsider some of the other options that we may have. Because I agree in regards to the survey, I don't want to get a survey out too fast that ends up not really serving us very well. So I would suggest that other than allowing the principals to continue to engage their communities, we pause a bit, have some internal conversation about what a survey might ask and look like, and then go from there.
I think that's a good idea. Paige, thumbs up. Because you're right, this was an information item, and we've certainly discussed it now for 3 hours.
So does that mean then, so there's this is an information item, move forward with the plans that are in progress, perhaps put out a survey, and then not consider any further steps because it's not an agenda item?
No, I think discussing further steps is still on the table. I think we've decided we've discussed it, and I think a survey still is appropriate. We'll have time to work on the survey, but the principals continue on with their planning for end of May, if I want to hearing Jess proposes. Go ahead, Scott.
I didn't have anything.
Yeah, it's anticlimactic, but I think that pretty much sums it up, Andrew.
Are we good with that, or did you? Like I said, we've discussed we've discussed a lot tonight, so we've got, I think, some good information. We're working, principals working with the community on what a graduation looks like at the end of May. And then we have further discussion after our survey is completed and there's more discussion from the community, what it might look like down the road. Does that sound good with everybody, or we're still thinking about it? I think Paige is good with it. Scott, what do you? Yes, go ahead.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, well, there's information to gather, and then we can, figure out where to go from here.
You good with it, Julie?
Yeah, I would just like to hear a little bit more, maybe over the next few days, as to what the district thinks that timeline for the survey might be.
Okay.
And I also encourage our student board members to share their thoughts about the survey as well.
Excellent. I will follow up on that, and we'll have more, I'm sure, some internal meetings next day or two. And so with that, does any board member have any comments at this point, or are we all commented it out?
No, I'll make just two comments. One is I really do appreciate the opinions of all of the parents and staff and principals that came. I think everybody agrees 100%, absolutely hands down. If we could be in a different place, we would certainly, if we had a magic wand at whatever cost, we would wave that magic wand and have life go back to normal. That's just not where we're at. And so, I want to say, I appreciate all of the parents, all of their opinions, and the teachers and all of their opinions. And I just want to say to everybody, may we all try to look, at sort of everybody else's viewpoint and try to understand everybody else, and have a modicum of patience and grace in all of this, because we're all trudging through it together, and it's not easy. That's it.
Thank you, Scott. All right, with that, Jess, did you want to have any comments?
I would just echo what Scott said. I think there's been a lot of coming together in the community, and sometimes, a community that grows strong together, it's a little messy, but I really appreciate everyone coming to the table and contributing, and we all want the same thing, and that's what's best for our kids. So I'm proud to be in this district.
Thank you. And I would say the same. I think this was a healthy, positive discussion, and we all wish we could have the type of graduation we're used to in the past, and circumstances just prevent us from doing that at this point. So we're all putting our heads together and trying to figure out the best plan. And I really do thank, again, the entire district, principals, teachers, for all they're doing, and our students for just being understanding and patient, and our parents, because as I shared before, I'm one of those parents with a senior, and I get it. It's not an easy thing, but I think if any district would put on a nice event, it's certainly our district. I have a ton of confidence in all of us, all of the staff, and so thank you all. And our next regularly scheduled meeting is next Tuesday, April 28th. We'll do this all over again at 6 p.m.
Andrew, do we need to go back into closed session about that one item?
Do we? I think
we can put it off to next Tuesday.
I think we're okay. But I'll call you about it. So I think we're good. And at this point, we will adjourn at 8:24. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.